Welcome to the Power of 50 Career Summit. My name is Lou Reyes. Thought we had a little technical glitch there. Welcome to the Power of 50 Career Summit. My name is Lou Reyes, and as most of you know, if you follow Over 50 TV, you know that I am the host of our channel, and our goal is to provide career and I just would say retirement tips to people over 50, but what we know is most of us who are older, most people like myself, we are not retiring, we are staying in the workforce. So yeah, when I say we provide retirement tips, I should say we provide tips to increase your income when you are in retirement. So I want to welcome you here, all of you watching on the live stream, and for any of you folks that are here in the studio audience, I want to again thank you for coming. We've got a really great program for you, and I say this all the time when I speak. I do a lot of speaking engagements. I also, of course, do live streams. But I say all of the time how important it is for channels like Over 50 TV to be there to support our audience. And again, that's why we're here today. So what I want to do is, first, I want to start out just by letting you know some of the speakers that are going to be here. And if you go online, if you go to the Eventbrite page, what you're going to see is you're going to see the times that each speaker will give a presentation. So if you're somebody who says, hey, I want to see this person or maybe see another person, you know exactly when you can hop on and you can watch that person during the live stream. So here's who we have lined up today. We're going to start out with a really, I think, a great guy. I'm so happy he is here, David Lipinski. David is the executive director of the Rocky River Chamber of Commerce. I got my start here in River. And I can tell you that for an environment that does really foster, I would just say, foster growth, an environment that really does promote small business. I love Rocky River, and David's going to be here. He's going to be talking about Rocky River. Also, Melanie Bryant, she is with the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, and I'll be introducing you to her in a few minutes here. Also, I've got Joe Ney. Joe is an interesting character, and I don't use that word without giving thought to the word character. He's an interesting character. Joe is someone who I met a few years ago. My partner, Scott Ernst, and I went out to his home, saw his business, saw his YouTube channel, him in action, I should say, producing videos, and it's just an amazing dude. That's what I'm going to call him, but I'll be introducing you to Joe. He's going to be on at 10 o'clock from 10 to 10:30. And then from 10:30 to 11:15, we have how to start a small business or side hustle. It's a panel discussion. And who we have moderating the panel discussion, somebody who I call the Oprah of business consultants. She is somebody who is got all the qualities that you see with an Oprah Winfrey, but then she's also got that insight, that I would just say pure insight to help you if you're someone who's interested in starting a business. You want someone to hold your hand. You want someone to stand with you, maybe stand behind you, maybe stand alongside you. I would just tell you that Cheryl Perez, the Oprah of business consultants, she's the one that you want to be with. Also on that panel discussion, I have two other folks. One's a longtime friend of mine. His name is Juan Tony. And Juan Tony's actually been an inspiration to me. You're going to meet him. He's on a panel discussion, lots of business experience behind him. He's built a very successful company, actually multiple companies. Now, in addition to Juan on that panel discussion is a person called Destiny. And Destiny is just, I don't want to say just, Destiny is the owner of a business called the Cleveland Urban Winery. She was a linguist, a Russian linguist in the U.S. Navy. She's traveled the world, much as some of the other folks you're going to meet today, but you're going to meet her. She's got a lot of business experience as well. I'm excited to have her here. Again, that panel discussion, how to start a small business or side hustle, is from 10:30 to 11:15 if you want to check in at that time. Also, from 11:15 to 11:30, Suzanne Ortiz, the Director of Entrepreneurship and Educational Development at Corporate College. It's a division of Cuyahoga Community College. Now, I mentioned I got my start got my start here in Rocky River. But I got my start as a 17-and-a-half-year-old kid going to Tri-C every single day, taking the bus, then taking a train, going down to Tri-C and going to classes, days and night classes. And I learned so much at Cuyahoga Community College, Tri-C as we call it here. So we are fortunate to have Suzanne here to talk about entrepreneurship. And actually what she's going to talk about is achieving educational goals as we age. It's something that I'm a big advocate of. Last but not least, and I say this, 11:30 to 11:45, Kara Canfield. Kara is the market manager for North Central Ohio for Minutemen Staffing. Now, I'm not sure what Minutemen Staffing was way back when I first heard of Minutemen, because I've known about this company for decades. I was truly honored when Kara said, yeah, Lou, we'll be part of your program. And I was truly honored because I knew the commitment that this organization has made to the city of Cleveland and really to multiple cities. They're located, I believe, in 37 cities. You can find a Minutemen Staffing. So I was very honored for a company that I followed for years, a company I've admired for years, to have Minutemen Staffing here. So that's our lineup, my friends. I'm excited. As I said, I think you're going to be excited as well to see these folks up on the stage talking about their business, talking about the, as I said with Suzanne, talking about education as we age. And then, of course, one thing that I forgot to mention here is that Kara's going to be talking about, her title of her talk is Successful Reentry into Today's Workforce. So again, I'm excited for all that. And I say excited, and I don't use that word too, maybe you think I might think I'm using it liberally, but it's truly a great program. If you're somebody out there who's looking to make more income, looking to make more money, and what you want to do is have a better future, or I should say even a better career. So now that I've done the introductions, what I want to do is tell you about how I built my own second, third career, I will say, how I was able to do that. And it starts, and I've already mentioned some of the ways that I did it, starts with getting that education, going to a campus like Tri-C. It starts with going there every day, deciding that I was going to go ahead and improve my own personal future. And that's what I did. But I want to take you way forward now, way forward. My first, I say, successful business, a business that I was able to generate millions of dollars in income from, was a business that started as me as a graphic designer, making no money, and deciding one day that what I wanted to do was to advertise my company. So what I did is I looked for ways to do it. And I found there was no way that I could afford to market my small little graphic design business. So what I did one day, I just said, I'm going to just print a flyer up and distribute it out into the neighborhood, and hopefully somebody will pick up the flyer. They'll see my advertisement, but nothing. I got nothing, just crickets, basically. No one called me to use my graphic design services. So then I thought, well, maybe if I put an article on that flyer, some information that's going to get somebody excited, maybe what will happen is they will pick up the flyer, read it, and then they'll really notice my advertisement. Well, I did that, but then I realized I couldn't even afford to pay for a flyer. Couldn't afford that money. So I went to the business next door and said, would you like to advertise on my flyer? He said no, but after a couple more door knockings, talking to some other business owners, I did get someone to say, yeah, Lou, I'll advertise with you. So that gave me the idea of why not go to other businesses, which is what I did. I went to other business owners, got them to go ahead, advertise on my flyer. Soon I was going to the bank every day depositing 1 or 2 checks. And I was real happy because here I am, was making very little money as a graphic designer. Now all of a sudden I'm making a few $100s every week, every day. Well, that business grew and it grew and it grew till I was doing well over $7 million a year in sales. And I don't usually throw that number out there very often, but I was making $7 million a year when I ended up selling that business. But the truth of the matter is it took 5 years to get to that point. It took 5 years to build something out of nothing. And from there, I was able to go ahead and use that experience and use that revenue, the money that I'd earned from my sale. I was able to use that to grow other businesses. I owned a chain of business-to-business magazines. I owned a weekly newspaper, a couple national trade show companies. From that, I also had a radio program, and I just kept building. And the whole point of this is that if you're somebody who's sitting there right now and you're watching this video, maybe you're sitting at a desk, maybe you're sitting on your couch, sitting in a chair, and you're watching me and you're saying, you know, how in the hell did that guy who's in his 60s, how did he do that? Well, it wasn't just that I had luck, it was perseverance. It was just believing in myself, knowing I had to feed a family, knowing I had children I had to take care of, and knowing that I wasn't going to be content working for somebody else, working, doing, and jumping whenever they asked me to work and jump. And that leads me to talk about something that I know a lot of us are concerned about, which is ageism. And I only want to say this one or a couple words on ageism, is as we age, as we get older, we need resources. We need resources to help us, which is why I'll mention again, Tri-C, Cuyahoga Community College. It's why that kind of an organization is important. It's why getting partners in your business is important. It's building that team so you can be successful. And if you're somebody who's older and you can't find a job or you're unable to find work, well, the one thing that you can do is start putting a team together. Now, when I talk about making money, I talk about building a business. I'm always talking first about building a team. And when you have that team, then you are able to grow your business. But you're never going to grow a business. You're never going to be successful if you don't have that team. Now, some people have asked me, why did you start Over 50 TV? Why did you start this? Well, I will tell you, the answer is pretty simple. Is looking at other folks around me who were older, who were struggling, who didn't have a way to make money because they were pushed out of their job because of their age. We know, there's data, you can Google it today. We know that 56% of people over the age of 55 were pushed out of their job. If you know somebody who's younger than you and you're older, you would be doing them a favor if you said to them, get a skill that no one can take away from you. Because when you are older and when you are pushed out of that job and you don't have income coming in and you have a family that needs you, you need a skill. Now, let me tell you what happened to me. I was a young kid going to Tri-C. I was going to Tri-C at the time. I'm not BSing you. I was going to Tri-C, and I would go to my buddy's house every day, and I'd get him, and we would go drive to Tri-C downtown Metro campus. Well, one day I went to my buddy's house, and I said to him, I said, where's your dad at? He's always sitting at the table having a cup of coffee. He's always sitting there drinking his coffee. And my buddy goes, my dad's not, he got fired. I go, what? He said, Lou, my dad's 62 years old and he was pushed out of his job. Pushed out because of his age. This guy was a tall, 6'4" dude, athlete at one time when he was younger. And I used to see him sitting at the table drinking his coffee before he went off to work. And now he was laying in bed, depressed, upset because he was pushed out of his job. Fired, he says, because of his age. I never forgot that as a 17-and-a-half-year-old kid. Never forgot what happens when you age. And it happens to most folks. 56% of you are pushed out of your job. We know it. I said I don't want to talk too much about ages, but I'm going to say two more things about it. Only 1 out of 10 of you will ever again earn as much money as you earned prior to being fired from your job once you hit that age and you're fired. If you're lucky enough to keep your job when you're older, that's great. We know that. We also know that under 10% of HR managers say they will definitely, I'm putting that word definitely in quotes, they'll definitely hire an older worker. What does that mean? That means that under 10% of HR managers don't want to hire older workers. It's under 10%, which means 90% of them are saying we don't want to hire these people. 10% will say they will hire them. So all this data, all this information that we've got together, all this information is why I decided to start over 50 TV. Figure we'll try to do what we can to help people, use my experience, talk to one of my persons on my team, or I'm on his team, Scott, and Scott together with Scott, and we decided, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and start this company, this business called Over 50 TV. So that's what we've done. So what I'm telling you is this: we've got a good program today that will help you to build a better future if that's what you're looking for. If you're happy with your future, that's fine. Maybe you're going to listen to this and you're going to get some ideas. Got some great speakers, as I've already mentioned, people that can help you. If you're somebody who decides that, yeah, you know what, I do want to do something different, we've got a program that can help you to do that. Now, what I want to do is talk a little bit about some specifics here, things that I think could help you if you're somebody who says, hey, I'm not sure what I want to do. I don't know what to do. Well, my first suggestion, and you see this on my channel all the time on Over 50 TV, you see this all the time. What I say is, consider taking a career aptitude test. A career aptitude test, I believe in them because I've seen how they can work. I've seen how successful you can be if you're determined and you want to get all the tools that you need to learn how to build your future. So I suggest taking a career aptitude test. I've got a link to a free career aptitude test in the description box of almost every single one of my videos, so you can check that out as well. So I suggest taking a career aptitude test to give you some ideas to help you decide what you want to do, where you want to go. Now, what I did is I actually reviewed 5 different career aptitude tests on my first video, one of my first videos. I reviewed another 5, and I came up with the career fitter test as, to me, it was one of the better ones. But my suggestion for you is to do your own research and find out what's best for you. My first step is get some help, maybe take a career aptitude test. Another thing that you can do if you're looking for direction, looking for a way for you to, again, to better your income or to increase your income. The second thing I always recommend that you should do is to talk to somebody, maybe a career counselor, somebody who's got some experience in the world, somebody who's actually going to help you. Now, what I know from working with career counselors, and I work with quite a few, and especially when I owned one of my first companies, had over 100 employees, and I always was very, very careful whenever I hired anybody because I knew that they were going to be so important to my business. But what I recommend when I talk to them is, if you're deciding what you want, is to sit down with a piece of paper and write down what's important to you. And then contact your career counselor or one who has experience and talk to them and say, this is what's important to me. This is what I've thought about. Because you want to have give it some real deep thought when you're going to talk to somebody. But talk to a career counselor. It's a second step I would recommend. Now, some folks who decide they want to start their own business will go ahead and they'll get a business consultant. Now, you already know I'm biased towards Cheryl Perez. I'm biased because I know as I call the Oprah of business consultants. So I'm biased towards someone like her, but why am I biased? I'm biased towards someone like Cheryl Perez because I know she really does care. I know she's going to be looking out for my best interest. I know that she's going to be somebody who's going to be asking me a lot of questions. I also know she's organized. And I also know that she's not somebody who's just going to take the money that you're going to pay her. She's not just going to take that money without really being invested in you and being invested in your future. So finding a career consultant is good. If you're going to decide to launch a business, well, then get yourself a business coach, somebody who has done it. Now, another thing I want to say about that, this is from somebody who's done it. I've owned almost a dozen businesses, have a couple right now, but I've owned almost a dozen businesses, and I can tell you that you want to find someone who has the experience. I like finding people that have failed, that have screwed up, people that maybe for them life wasn't so easy. Maybe for them they didn't have that rich father or that family that could give them the money. I like finding somebody who's been on both sides of the railroad tracks, somebody who's failed, somebody who's succeeded. I want to find somebody who really can give me advice, somebody who I can trust. Now, my very first business advisor was a guy named Harry Farr. He was an executive at Chrysler. Harry was a lot older than me, and at that time I was a fairly young person. But Harry sat down for no charge and gave me advice and gave me direction and helped me to grow. So, talking about taking a career aptitude test, talking about finding a career advisor, maybe a business consultant, those are the steps that you want to take. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is the education. You've got to, sometimes we'll call it reskilling. So you're going to have to learn a new skill. Maybe what you do is you do go back to school, you take courses. Now, I don't recommend, and I'll never recommend, that you go at 50 years old or 55 or 60 and say, I'm going to go ahead and get a degree, because I don't think that's going to help you. I know it's not going to help you. You want to find maybe a certificate program where you're going to get a skill. We know accounting is or bookkeeping rather, is one of the highest paying skills to learn so you can earn. But to me, that is a skill, getting a certificate. Somebody will pay you. They'll pay you immediately if you can help them with their books. You're finding a need and you're filling it. So get a certification if you really are interested in making money in the next 3 to 6 months, or maybe even within the next year, but plan today. Now, I also will say, besides bookkeeping, being a business consultant, if you've got experience, a business consultant is not a bad business to get into if you have that kind of experience. I've done business consulting. I try not to do too much of it now, only because I know I can't invest myself into a business. But if you can find a business consultant that you can trust, somebody who really does care, I recommend finding a business consultant to help you with that future. So now we've kind of talked about a few different things, but here's something that I want to say, and I have a few minutes to say it. I have produced 550 videos. Today will be 551, I believe, with this channel. My other channel, Side Hustle Rules, which is a channel I'm not developing at this point, but will be starting next year. But I produced 550 videos. We've got, Scott and I have 2.6 million people who have watched our videos. In August, 322,000 of you out there watched these videos. I've got tens of thousands of comments have come in. Tens of thousands of comments. I don't answer them all, I try to. But tens of thousands of comments. I can't tell you how many people who commented say to me, Lou, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I should do. Lou, I'm going to give up. I try, in the comments that I do answer, I try to help folks. I try to tell them some of the things that I'm telling you here today. But too many of them are comfortable. Too many of them are content to be in the shade. Even though they're comfortable, they're really comfortable being uncomfortable. They're in the shade. They don't want to walk into the sun. They don't want to walk into success because they don't have the energy or the drive or the motivation, or maybe they don't even give a heck about their family. Truly, they say they do, but what motivates them? If you want to be successful, you've got to get out of the shade. You got to walk into the sun. You got to challenge yourself. You got to do those things that you don't feel comfortable doing. I read a story about somebody who's super motivated, Michael Jordan. And they say Michael Jordan was the kind of guy that had all the gifts, like a lot of other athletes had all the gifts. But Michael Jordan was more than willing every single day to give more, to demand more of himself. Somebody who, even though they say when he won his championships, that day he'd get the championship trophy. That next morning at 6 o'clock or 5 in the morning, I think he got up actually at 4 o'clock from what I read. But the next day he was in the gym. He was in the gym trying to perfect, be even better than he was. So he was a guy that wasn't content, wasn't satisfied, didn't say, yeah, you know, I've done it. Like a lot of folks, excuse me, a lot of people who are maybe a little bit older, and maybe a lot of folks who are younger, they're satisfied. Well, if you're satisfied being satisfied, that's fine. But if you're somebody who wants to do more, wants to do better, if you want to be the Michael Jordan, somebody who really does care about himself and his future, if you want somebody want to be somebody who isn't going to be sitting in the shade all day long, all night long, then do more. Do more. Go ahead and get that career aptitude test just to give yourself an idea. It's free. Now, there's a version that's a paid version. I've had people tell me, Lou, they write me, Lou, it's $20 for that paid version. Well, I say, okay, you don't want to invest? You can't invest $20 in yourself? Then I say, get a career consultant. Maybe you've got to pay them. Maybe you do. Maybe you can find somebody free. But do more. If you want to do more, you got to do more. Get that career consultant or get a business consultant. Find somebody who can help you to help you grow your business. And then, as I said, the other thing to me is do something. Walk out of the shade. Get into the sun. Do something that's going to help you, that's going to be able to help you to motivate you. You know, because when you are doing something that you like, and this is what I found, when I'm doing something I really like, something I enjoy, then I can hop out of bed every single day. Every single day you just hop out of bed and you just go into that business. And when I told you, I'll go back to when I said I started my first business, or my first real successful business, because actually I think it was my second or third business. But I remember getting that money. And I remember my business partner at the time. I had a business partner. His name was Fred. I won't give you his last name, but I remember Fred. And one day he said to me, he said, you just care about the money, because that's all he cared about. But I said, no, Fred, I care about more than that. I care about what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I had a business-to-business publication that grew from one location to 17 in the country. And I knew I was helping lots of folks. That's what I cared about. So if you're going to do something that you enjoy doing, something that you like doing, something that's going to help other people. Don't just think of yourself, because if you're helping other folks and you're helping them realize and live their dream, then you'll be able to live your dream. And even to this day, when I started Over 50 TV, it wasn't for the money. It wasn't for the fact that I could get, maybe 100 views on a video, or 1,000 or 10,000 views, or in the case of one of my videos, it's over 500,000. It wasn't for that. It was for the fact that I knew I was going to be helping folks who needed the help. And that's what motivated me. And that's why we're here today. That's why this channel is we're streaming on Over 50 TV. We're streaming because what we know is this: we can reach more folks, we can help more folks. And if you want to do that, you will be successful, but you won't be successful if you only care about yourself, and you won't be successful if you're willing to just sit around doing nothing and being in the shade. And you won't be successful. You won't be successful if you're not doing what you were meant to do, maybe what God intended you to do, what you should do to fulfill your life. So there you go. Here's my preaching. But what I'm going to tell you, and to leave you with this, is if you're somebody who is concerned about your future, if you are someone who wants some advice, email me. Send me an email. And if you make a comment, I'll try to get back to you as fast as I can. I said I can't get back to everybody. But what I can tell you is this: if you do decide that you want to do something and you're not sure, you can always send me an email. I'll get back to you. Give me a few days, but I will get back to you, and I will give you some advice. Now, I will not be able to spend hours with you, and I've already said I just can't do that, but I will do my best to be there for you when you need me. So please go ahead and email me if you have any questions. If you have something that you want to talk about, I'm willing to help, and I'm always going to be there for you. So thank you. So now what I want to do, without further ado, is I'm going to welcome somebody who is very important to me. And I said, here we are in Rocky River, Ohio. And when Scott and I decided we wanted to do this live stream in Rocky River, it wasn't because, as I said to you before I started, I started here, but it wasn't because I just picked this city out of thin air. It was because I know how this city supports its residents, and I know how this city supports its businesses. So I'm extremely proud to introduce you to David Lipinski. David is the Executive Director of the Rocky River Chamber of Commerce. And Dave, I'm going to welcome you up on the stage now. Yeah, now, Scotty, does this mic work? But Dave, I'm gonna let you talk on this platform. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Help yourself there.
All right. Lou, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much for viewing in today. We are here in Rocky River, Ohio. I am David Lipinski. I'm the Executive Director of the Rocky River Chamber of Commerce. I've been in this role for a little over a year now. This is my second Chamber of Commerce I've worked with. Rocky River is a special town. It's been phenomenal. So luckily, my wife and I, when we moved here to Rocky River, I was working with the NCAA for a little while and overseeing their partnerships and sponsorships. And when this opportunity came up, it was impossible to pass up, especially now being, for the first time ever, I have a 90-second commute going to my job, which is phenomenal. But this town is special. It's very, the folks here are extremely thoughtful. They're generous. They're passionate about where they're from, what they're doing. The businesses are just amazing. Everything from small, medium to large size businesses. We truly have a very diverse group of individuals that have put roots here, that are trying to grow, that are continuing to grow, and folks that have truly succeeded. So it's been amazing to watch. So Rocky River is, as I said, a phenomenal town. Right now in our chamber, we have about 430 members. We are looking to continue to grow, and we're trying to look at the chamber and do different things and try to be different and trying to look at everything that we've done in the past. Luckily, when I came into the chamber, I inherited a phenomenal group. So it wasn't something that we had to completely restructure and redo. It was something that we needed to continue to elevate and continue to work off what my predecessors had put together. So that being said, we are now always considering doing different committees, different events, different things that we can have. We actually have numerous events that we have in this room for our organization, whether it's our annual holiday party. We've had a business expo in this facility for the past 20 some odd years. We have an employment expo that's coming up on November 20th that we're going to be taking our members and putting them in the same room as folks that are looking to be employed. And that's one of the biggest things that we've come across is our members, when we sent a survey out in the early parts of January and said, what do you guys need? And the difficulty with that is that about 80% of them came back and said, I cannot attract and retain good talent. And that's across the board. So what we're trying to accomplish is being able to put not only our members in a room, but the folks that are looking for true good folks to work with and good employers, good teams, good cultures, and be able to use those skills that they have and continue their careers. So that being said about the chamber, we're always looking to different areas, and something that we started to implement as well. And Lou, you said a couple pieces that I had to write down. So one of the things that we started doing was we were interviewing small businesses. And essentially, it was the same 10 questions that I would always continue to go back through. And a lot of them is, tell me your story. Because a lot of these businesses that we see, how did you get here? You see the success, you see the nice car, you see this beautiful, thriving business, and you wonder, how did you get there? And so what we started to find out as we started to ask these questions, and tell me your story, tell me what you're doing, how you got here, so on and so forth. Well, each one of those stories is drastically different of how it came through. But what was so surprising to me was at the end, it was, what's next? What's the exit plan? How do you want this thing to go forward? And what surprised me was that we had folks on two different sides of the spectrum of, I had a couple businesses, and one of which is very close to us, one of our board members who verbatim said to me, if I have air in my lungs, I will be in this chair. I will never stop working. And we had other folks that said, as soon as I can retire, I want to retire. So thinking through all those different perspectives, we've now seen, especially since COVID, of so many different folks that are either looking to retire or getting into a place that maybe they weren't happy with the industry that they had. So where we've started to really see and understand the differences was we have a member here pretty close to our offices. He and his wife were both teachers for 25 years down in Florida. And one day he woke up and said, I don't like what I'm doing. And he moved up north. He actually just got a shop here in Rocky River, loved the town, and he is now a professional woodworker, and he is thriving. And every time you go to talk to him, he is excited to talk to you. He's excited to tell you what he's doing. And that was one of the things that I've been trying to do in my own career. And this was a joke that I asked Lou if I could tell before, because I felt that Lou gave me a pass since I'm under 50 and I was able to come talk with you guys. And I'm so excited to be here. Flattered. Yes, thank you. One of the big pieces to that puzzle was, and something that you said as well, Lou, was resources are important. Growing a team, having people around you, having your own board of directors, if you will, to help grow through your process. Whether you're coming out of school at 20 years old or you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s and you're looking to do something different, seeking guidance is a great way to become wise. And whether you have had a phenomenal career and you have really honed in on your specific talents, there's other folks out there that are extremely excited to tell you about their talents. And if you have questions, we have started to really see at the Chamber that people want to talk about it. People have learned so much over a long career, and they want to share their experiences. Let them. Ask questions. That's something, especially for myself, that I've really been trying to do professionally, is just, I want to hear all the different things that are coming out. And that has been from the Chamber side of things, and trying to get those stories out is really where we're trying to hone in on. So I'll stop blabbling from there, Lou. And
No, it's interesting too, because we talk about Rocky River, and I realize there's going to be a lot of folks that are watching this live stream that are not close to Rocky River, Ohio. But if you're somebody who is close, and if you're interested in starting a business, and I'm not being paid for this, I mean, I certainly didn't ask to be paid for this, but Rocky River does have a lot of resources. And you know what, you talked about that woodworker. It's so interesting, because I think that a business like that woodworker, I think he would be successful in River, where you have people who have the means to buy his products.
Absolutely. And we've started to really see, especially with that specific business, that after COVID, people are really trying to figure out what brings me joy. And that's really a side of the working, the organizations, the businesses that folks are trying to build, is what's going to make me, as you said, get up out of bed every day and want to go do these things. And that's really what we've started to see. I have a quick story, if you don't mind me.
Tell it.
So something that I started to notice, and I had this journey in the past year that I've been going through, and I was invited into a mastermind group of gentlemen that were between 50 and 60 years old. I was obviously, the youngest of the group. But the idea was, from this group, was that it's completely open, non-judgmental, it's completely confidential. And we started to dive into a lot of different topics and really started to grow that team and have those resources. So the story that I bring to you today, and goes back to this idea of joy, is that my mentor, and now one of my very close friends, very successful man, does very well for himself. My wife and I went over to his house for his birthday, and has just an absurd bourbon collection, like absurd. So one of those is that my wife and I are a little bit more of wine drinkers. So as we go to his very nice bar in his house, and we start to look at all the bottles and whatnot and looking around, and I wanted to ask questions. I'm curious. That's what I'm trying to do. I said, what is that one all about? And he's like, oh, this is such and such from, Ireland, whatever it may be. This is, an Irish whiskey. And I said, okay, that's awesome. Would you like some? I said, no. It's not for me. Like, don't waste it on me. I don't have the palate. Like, please, don't do that. I said, okay. So I asked again, and there was another one on the shelf that was, looked nice, looked important. And so I said, tell me a little bit about that one. He told me, this is straight out of Kentucky. This is what this is, and blah, blah, blah. This was hand signed from the distiller for me and my friend. I said, awesome. That's super cool. Thanks for telling me. And he said, would you like some? I said, no, please. I don't have the palate. That's not something you need to open up and waste anything on me. And the third time I asked about a bottle, he's prefaced, would you like some? And I said no for a third time. And he stopped me. And why he stopped me, he said, now you're being selfish. Okay,
why am I being selfish? He said, how do you know that now you have now refused my offer 3 separate times for something that brings me joy? How do you know that I don't gain joy by sharing this hobby with you, sharing something from me to you? And I said, I never looked at it that way. And so the moral of that story is, and especially what you were saying, Lou, was having a consultant or having a team and growing those resources. The idea is ask the questions. If it's something you haven't had that skill of, people want to share those experiences. They want to get further into the things that bring them joy. So by asking the questions, growing a team, having those different experiences, it's something that especially myself, the chamber, and our consulting company that we've grown as well, is ask the questions. Mm-hmm. People want to share these experiences. And I think that from your content, which I'm a large fan, I truly appreciate you having me today. That was one of the areas that I kept seeing, is that whether it's, you have businesses out there right now that there's so many folks that have to be the guy, and they're a sole proprietor or maybe a shop of 4 or 5. They don't have all the answers, but there's a lot of folks that I know that are watching today that have had a long, extensive career that have the answers. And it's just being able to pair yourself up with those and being able to network, doing what you're doing now and being able to see these different resources is just phenomenal. So I'll leave you with that. And I just wanted to thank you again for having me.
Thank you. It's really been my pleasure to have you here. Thank you. You know, something that you may not know, Brian Tracy has this, I've read a few of his books, but one of his books, he says, get them to say no 3 times. Yeah. It's funny you said that. I just wonder if you read Brian Tracy's book, because get them to say no 3 times, and that gives you more information that you can use to get them to say yes. But it's one of his rules. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your being here with us today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks again. I'm going to hop over to this microphone now, Scott. Thank you. And next up, we're going to have somebody who, actually, I want to give you a little bit of story before I introduce the next speaker here. Melanie Bryant is she works for the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. And somebody said to me, one of our viewers actually messaged me and says, why are you having somebody from the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation? Why are you having somebody from there speak at your event? And I said to them, and I did say this, and I've got it written right here. I said, did you know that 49 out of 50 states, states require workers' compensation insurance? And I don't think that person obviously didn't know it, because you get a lot of folks who message me, comment, and they say things like that they're really not sure of. So then I said to him, I said, do you live in Texas by any chance? Because Texas is the only state, to no one's surprise, I'm sure, that doesn't require workers' comp insurance. So he said, no, he didn't live in Texas. Actually, I don't remember where he lived. But what we know is this: in 2020, over 135 million workers were covered by some form of workers' compensation insurance. And what we're doing here today, if you haven't already gathered this, is we're not only talking about a career, maybe going back to school and learning a skill, but we're also suggesting or saying that one of your options is working for yourself. And one of the options are, if you are working for yourself, you're going to need workers' comp. Now, if you have had an issue that you need help with, well, I think Melanie Bryan is the person that you really do want to hear from. And I'm going to read to you what I have here about Melanie. Melanie Bryan is a minority and small business advocate for Ohio workers' compensation. And she's going to help you navigate Ohio workers' compensation system, the system. So if you're somebody who's been maybe injured at work, or you need some other support from a workers' comp person, Melanie's a great person to listen to. So Melanie, if you want to come up here, I'd welcome you to the stage. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Melanie. So I'm going to let you hop on the microphone. I'm going to step out of your way. Oh, well, you know what? Let's play your video first, Melanie. Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
Hello, I'm John Logue, Administrator and CEO of the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. I want to welcome you to our employer orientation video series. On behalf of Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, let me be the first to say we are so glad you've decided to do business in our great state and with us at BWC. We proudly serve 249,000 public and private employers, providing essential coverage to both businesses and their employees. Here in Ohio, workers' compensation is exclusively provided by BWC, and with nearly 1,600 employees statewide, we are one of the largest state-run workers' comp insurance systems in the country. We understand that workers' compensation can be complex, and that's why we're here to break down some of the most important information. In these videos, you'll find our overviews of employer services, safety and hygiene, the crucial first steps of a claim, and more. We look forward to working with you to create a safe and prosperous Ohio. Thank you and best of luck on your new venture.
Well, thank you, everyone. My name is Melanie Bryant, and I'm the Minority and Small Business Advocate with the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. As Lou said, I know a lot of you are thinking like, workers' comp, how does that apply to me? And in my 30 years of being in the workers' compensation industry, that question is a question that lots of people ask me, and I always have a really good answer. You can't afford not to know what you don't know when it comes to workers' compensation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our agency. We are one of 4 monopolistic states in the country. And monopolistic basically means you have workers' compensation coverage with our agency, or you do not have workers' compensation coverage. So, in the other states that are not monopolistic, you can go to a private insurance carrier. Travelers is probably the most common insurance carrier, and you could say, hey, write me a workers' compensation policy. In Ohio, all employers must come to our agency to get that coverage. And so I tell everyone in the state of Ohio, when you say hurt and work by law, that claim must be filed with our agency. So I get a lot of sole proprietors, small business owners who say, I don't think I need that workers' compensation. And what they don't realize is because we are monopolistic, we are the only ones permitted to pay for work-related injuries. So I tell people hurt and work, Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. So it's really important as we go through this discussion for you to be mindful of that. So what do we do as an agency? I think in my 30 years of doing this, I always have the assumption that everyone understands what workers' compensation is. So employers in the state of Ohio pay premiums to our agency, and in turn we pay for any missed wages, so indemnity, and we pay for their medical expenses. So if an employer pays us a couple $100s a year in premiums, they have an individual or an employee who's injured, we do pay for all of their missed wages and all their medical expenses. Our most expensive claim today is in excess of $15 million. And so you're all thinking, like, that's a pretty expensive claim. Unfortunately, it was a very severe accident. We still continue to pay that individual's missed wages, and we still continue to pay for his medical benefits. And why that might be important to you as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. Think about that. Would you have had $15 million to pay for that individual's claim? The answer for all of us in this room and on this call, the answer would be no. So workers' compensation not only protected that business owner from having to pay that $15 million out of their own pocket, it ensures that that individual continues to receive the treatment and the care that they need. So what I usually get asked at this point in time is, so who's required to have workers' compensation coverage? If you have 1 or more employees in the state, you have to have workers' comp coverage. Our agency, the last, because a lot of small businesses, entrepreneurs, and this seems to be a wave that happened about 7 years ago, in which no one has employees anymore, everybody is an independent contractor, right? So our agency says, if an individual walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So you tell the individual when they come to work, you provide the materials, the equipment for the training for workers' compensation purposes. That's an employee, and we're going to require that they be covered. Now, what does that mean to you if you're an entrepreneur and you have these individuals and you're not covering them? If they get hurt, it's just like having a car accident and not having automobile insurance. Who is ultimately responsible for paying for those costs if you didn't have coverage? You are. So the same thing is true for workers' compensation. For failure to cover an employee or an individual who is an employee, and they're injured means that you as the entrepreneur, as a small business owner, is now supposed to pay for that claim. And that $15 million claim that I talked about could have been that individual business's claim had they not had workers' comp insurance. Now, what if it's just you? Because I know a lot of you on this call, in this meeting, don't have employees and maybe it's just you. So do you have that workers' compensation coverage? The answer is no, you're not required by law to have workers' comp coverage for yourself if you are a sole proprietor or a partner. But what I said earlier about who can pay for work-related injuries in the state of Ohio still remains true. So you're a sole proprietor who's a consultant who maybe sit behind a laptop, and the likeliness of you being injured is pretty low, right? Maybe you don't do workers' comp. But if you're going to tell me that you're out in the field and you get up and down off the ladders, you should probably consider getting coverage for yourself because your health insurance by law cannot pay for injuries that occur while you're working. And my name gets the calls from someone who's called the governor's office or they call the legislator's office and they're upset in regards to workers' comp. Quite a few of those calls are individuals who are at an urgent care ER and they're trying to present their health insurance card to pay for a claim that has happened or an injury that's happened while they're working. That provider is telling them by law we can't do that, you have to complete this PRC form. And so ultimately, those are the kind of calls I don't like to take because I know I'm talking to an individual who's now going to have to pay for all of their medical expenses out of their own pocket. So it's really important to make sure you consider coverage for yourself if you're a sole proprietor or partner. And then make sure you classify individuals properly to make sure you're not paying out of pocket for any of their medical expenses. Now, I will tell you, a lot of people say, why are we still monopolists? Makes it pretty antiquated, right? All these other states have a right to privatize. And what I tell people is 6 of the last 8 years, in the state of Ohio, we give it back towards almost all of their premiums. So basically, when we collect premiums from an employer, the majority of those premiums are used for paying for workers' compensation claims. However, there is a portion that we get to invest. Whenever we have a great return on our investments, our actuaries say we have more money than we need to pay for claims, we have to give those funds back to employers. And so employers are pretty happy with our agency right now, and I always challenge people and say, I've had car insurance for a long time, and I'm sure my insurance carrier has had great returns on their investments, but I've yet to see a check come from them. So our agency does a really good job of being good stewards with the premiums that employers pay to our state fund. And with the program that we have called Group Rating, we are the cheapest in the country when it comes to workers' compensation premiums. So workers' compensation is not something that's going to break you and cause your business to go out of business or not be able to start a business. What I tell individuals is that you can't afford not to have workers' compensation coverage. And then one of the other great programs that we have specifically for employees, and it could be for you as a business owner to have a workers' comp policy with us, is our wellness program. Our wellness program is called Better You Better Ohio. And that program basically will give incentives for individuals to participate in the wellness program. The foundation of every wellness program is the biometric screening, so you feel a finger prick, and then we test and drop the blood to get good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, sugar levels, your weight, blood pressure. So that's a snapshot of your health, if you will. And you can get incentives, $75 to $225 for participating. You might be thinking, like, why is workers' compensation involved in wellness? What does that have to do with workers' comp? Well, studies have shown that individuals who are healthier get hurt less often, and those who do get hurt return to work a lot quicker. A great example would be 2 individuals with the same knee injury. However, individual A is obese or overweight. You can see that obesity would probably cause a delay in recovery and an increase in cost. So for our agency, it's very important that you have healthier employees to ensure that you keep your workers' compensation costs as low as possible. We also serve as making sure that our individual employees and workers in the state of Ohio have full coverage. We don't want for an individual to be injured and not be able to take care of their families and have to worry about medical bills. So under the workers' compensation system, you as a business owner, if you elect coverage for yourself as well as your employees, are safe in knowing that injuries are going to be something that puts you out of business or causes your family to have to file bankruptcy. So I thank you for this opportunity, and I welcome everyone to the state of Ohio with good fun and endeavors.
Thank you. very much. Thank you, Melanie. I really appreciate that. And sorry about that. Thank you, Melanie. I really appreciate your giving that information. But I have a question though that I find that small business people ask quite often is, will they be liable? Are they liable if somebody does get hurt and they don't have workers' compensation insurance? Would you mind just answering that question? Sorry to get you back up here. But yeah, it's a question that is asked. So if you could answer that.
So yes, if someone were not to have workers' compensation coverage, someone was injured and they filed a claim with our agency, if we deem that individual was an employee, we will cover their claim. But what it means for the employer is that we're going to bill them for everything that we pay out in the lifetime of the claim. So if it means they have to go to the doctor, if they have to have surgeries, all of those costs are now going to be put onto the employer. And we are represented by the Attorney General's office. So all of our unpaid bills become AG bills. And so it's not a situation a small business wants to find themselves in.
What percentage are they paid?
What percentage of
The bill?
Oh, so injured workers, whenever they have a workers' compensation claim and they're not able to work, for the first 6 weeks, they get 72% of their wages. And then thereafter, they get 66 2/3%.
Okay. So how do they make up that difference? Is that just up to them?
Unfortunately, if they're receiving that benefit, they're not able to work anywhere else to make up that benefit. Now, it is tax-free. So in most cases, most of the employees are actually receiving their full, what they would receive in their paycheck.
So you're saying in most cases. So that's good. I didn't realize that. But you're right. If there's no taxes, that's a little extra income that they receive in it.
Exactly.
What question are you asked the most in your travels? And I know you travel all over and all the time. What question are you asked the most about Bureau of Workers' Compensation?
I think the question that I get most is from small businesses about whether they need to cover themselves or not, because you're usually talking about, as this audience is, entrepreneurs, sole proprietors who it's just them and they think, well, I probably don't need workers' comp, right? And that's where I have to really get into having the discussion with them about the fact that health insurance doesn't pay for work-related injuries. And so that's usually the shock to their system and realizing that, oh my goodness, this health insurance that I thought was my fallback isn't going to be available if I get hurt while I'm working. So a lot of those discussions to make sure that sole proprietors don't find themselves injured without any type of coverage.
See, I would have thought the question you might be asked the most would be the paperwork. I mean, because people don't, they're busy.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah. And I think anyone who's had to deal with any state agencies or government agencies, that's typically the situation is it's just too cumbersome.
Yeah.
We've done a really good job in trying to lessen that. I will say probably 20 years ago, if I was up here, that would be the case in which I would have no defense to that. But we do a really good job in streamlining a lot of things. So an employer right now could go online if they say they're realizing they need coverage. They could go online right now and within 5 minutes have workers' comp coverage. It's that fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that too, because I would have thought, I know from maybe when I first started out, it was a cumbersome process. It was time consuming. I had to get advice from other folks. So if somebody wants to reach you or the Bureau of Workers' Comp, I can put the link in the description box, but is there a number that they can call?
Sure. You can call me directly, and my phone number is 614-307-5559. And I'll repeat that again, 614-307-5559. And generally, because I've been doing this for 30 years, I can answer most people's questions without bouncing them around to someone else.
I'm sure I'll be calling you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Melanie. Thanks a lot for coming by. All right. So now we're going to talk, or I'm going to introduce you to somebody else here. And I'm going to take a few seconds to introduce you to a gentleman that I've come to admire, somebody who I've learned from watching him on YouTube. He's a content creator. He has a story to tell, and I know most of his story. I don't know all of it. I think we're going to hear probably all of it, at least what he can cover in the short amount of time that he's going to be talking with us here today. But his name is Joe Ney, and Joe has a channel called Ohio Woodburner. Joe is seen, I think, in 70 countries. So think about that for a second. I mean, over 50 TV, I think we're lucky. I know we're seen in Europe. I've actually got somebody, I had a phone call when I was doing consulting from China, I think it was. I remember I had to get, maybe it was Hong Kong, I had to get my phone, some kind of a different service. But maybe we're seen, how over 50 TV is seen in 7 or 8 cities consistently. Joe's seen in 70. So that gives you an idea of how popular Joe is. 25 million views on his YouTube channel. 25 million. If you watch any one of Joe's videos, what you're going to see is about 10,000 or more people watch. Maybe over the course of time, like all of us on YouTube, we might get 20, 30, 40,000 if we're lucky. Some of us get more. Joe is consistently getting a lot. He's getting a lot because he's just got this great story to tell. He's got a great personality. Joe Ney, you want to come up here? Let me introduce you to our audience. And look at you.
This is a very unique time for the firewood industry. We are a 18th century industry, but we're being drug into the 21st century. Technology is now being employed with our industry. We have computer-controlled machines. They're all about productivity and safety for the operator. And the fact that we can bring all of these manufacturers from Canada, from Finland, from Germany, Slovenia, Norway, right here to Northeast Ohio, and pair them up with people that are passionate about firewood. They may have their own business, they may have their own hobby. It's a great day.
We're here all the way from Finland, representing TP Silva Oy, which is a manufacturer of Japa and Hakkipilkki and Palax machines. It's really important for us to meet the customers at their places to see that how they really are using the machines. So that's the way how we can learn and develop our processors. It has been a lot of visitors, really good weather, good atmosphere. It's great.
Log Ox, we are American tools for woodsmen from harvest to hearth. Joe has put on an amazing show here. It's incredible the amount of people that he was able to bring together for the first annual International Firewood Expo. It's really an incredible day, and we've had a great time talking with people.
This is actually one of our favorite areas to come to is Northeast Ohio. We are manufacture firewood equipment. We are out of Perth, Ontario, Canada. The people in Ohio have always been really, really good to us. Come down here and see our competitors. They're all such nice guys, and we all get along so well. It's just a lot of fun to be here.
I'm on. Okay. My name is Joe. I'm with Ohio Woodburner. I have a small firewood business and a YouTube channel. I once had I had a job. I had an office. I had a desk. I had a closet at home filled with khaki pants and button-down shirts. And I had a very important job too. My job was to drive 1 hour to the office so that I could send an email to a person sitting 10 feet from me. And then I would drive home for an hour, and I would do it all again the very next day. So when you get into your 50s, you have a lot of life experiences, but there is also the sad fact, you got to deal with aging parents and end of life stuff, and that's what I was faced with. I had a whole bunch of stuff that just happened to me all at the same time. I had a job that wanted me to relocate, and I didn't want to do that. I had my father who was running out of steam, and he says, "Hey, Joe, why don't you take the severance package and maybe take care of me?" And that's what I decided to do. I asked my wife if this was a great idea, and with her, my family, my sister's family, we put a team around Dad, and we were able to take care of him. My plan was, I had this side hustle. I sold firewood. I did it for fun. My goal was when Dad were to pass, I would go back to my day job. But when that day came, my business was just too big for me to walk away from. During this time when I'm taking care of Dad and I'm running this firewood business, I got a phone call from a very high-end restaurant. It's the biggest, highest volume restaurant in our area. And they said, can you provide us firewood? And I was going to tell them no, because they were just too much volume, too much work. I was just a little Mickey Mouse operation. But then there was that voice that you hear, you know, when opportunity is knocking, you open the door. And that's what I did. I opened the door on that firewood opportunity, and I started taking care of that one restaurant. Well, what do you know? The very first delivery I make to that one restaurant, I met the owner of another restaurant, and he wanted me to supply them firewood. So I did. By the end of the year, I was up to 13 restaurants. Okay, fast forward. The pandemic hit. My daughter got sent home from school, and she was bored with nothing to do. I had since bought this really cool machine because I was having trouble keeping up with the volume. And this machine is a firewood processor. You might have seen it on the video. It's about the size of a motorboat, and it takes poles like telephone pole kind of logs, and it runs it through one end, and it spits firewood out the other end, and it's just fascinating to watch. It is a blast to watch. So she would come out with her phone, and she started videotaping me run this machine. And then I would stand in front of it, and I would crack a couple jokes, and then the video would be over. How did I know, while all this was going on, that my YouTube channel would explode? I was getting thousands of views, thousands of subscribers. I was getting emails, I was getting phone calls, and I was getting strangers showing up to my house. And the weird part of that was I never once told anyone where I lived. They just figured it out on their own, you know, and everyone was well-intending, but it was just kind of weird. We almost quit doing YouTube videos because unintended consequence. You know, I don't know if I wanted to be that much of a private person. But then I kept hearing that voice again saying, Joe, you know, opportunity is knocking at the door, so open the door. So I opened the door, and then for a long time, my firewood channel and my firewood business and my YouTube channel were on the same upward trajectory. And what do you know? I became a quasi YouTube star. So I'm seen worldwide. I get emails from all over the world, from New Zealand, Japan, Russia, China, all of Europe, and it's flattering. I'm here to tell you, it really is. But what I had learned was that machine that I had purchased, it was made by this firewood processor company from Finland, and the name is Japa. It's spelled J-A-P-A. You think it's from Japan, but it's from Finland, Japa. It was the third one in production in the United States when I bought it, and I paid for it with my own money. These videos were putting this machine out there for the world to see, and people fell in love with it the same way that I did. It was just fascinating to watch. I didn't realize this, but my videos were making that company a lot of money. They were starting to sell these firewood processors, and they are now selling over 500 of them a year. And they put a lot of emphasis on what I contributed with these videos. They started seeing the value of me as an influencer, which I didn't even know what an influencer was. And I was getting invited to see them in Finland. They flew me and my wife to Finland, and now I've traveled to Europe. We have other trips on the books. So now I'm traveling the world because of YouTube. And I'm serious, guys. I'm just a simple guy from Ohio. How this happened is just, I really just put a lot of emphasis. It was an accident. It happened by accident. This was not part of my life's plan. And you know, opportunity knocked, and I opened the door. So weird stuff, though, when I mentioned about people coming to my house, people that were calling me, that was another unintended consequence, because I had my phone number on the side of my truck, which happens to be in all of my videos. So people were calling me, and I'm on the phone all the time. It was hard for me to even answer calls for firewood orders. I still had a business to run. But people were calling me as if I was a subject matter expert on starting a business, starting your side hustle into a business. And I don't have a formal education in business. I can't speak to you about earnings before EBITDA, earnings before taxes and amortization, or I remember I had my one business mentor ask me what was my cost of goods delivered. I was like, I don't know. Give me the definition of what it is. Maybe I can tell you what it is. Okay. The bottom line though, I was getting questions. People are asking me, Joe, what should I do? Joe, what should I do? And I was flattered. So I would start talking with them. And I noticed that something was going on while all these phone calls were coming in and people were wanting to talk to me about how they can turn their side hustle into a business. And what I had noticed was when we're on the phone, they did all the talking. They did all the talking. I'm just listening to them going, They were doing all the talking. So why are they calling me, asking me for my opinion, asking me for my advice, but they are doing all the talking? And I started figuring all this out. It's because this side hustle, this vision, this dream that they had, it was a thought challenge. It wasn't real. They really weren't going to do it. It was just something they were looking for validation, I think, because I'm putting myself in their shoes and I've done the same thing. I come up with this great theory. I know I can do it, so why bother doing it, you know? And so I started getting a little bit tired of these conversations. And then I'm getting a lot of these questions, you know, Joe, what machine should I run? Joe, where should I get my logs? Joe, should I stack or split and sell? And I started getting to the point was I would just answer to them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. Just go ahead and get something started and you know, figure it out. The other thing that I noticed too is how people are very easily derailed from their vision, from their dream, because I was the same way too. And I remember asking, because I made all these same mistakes that the same people were calling me were doing. I would call up my friends, my family, and I would say, hey, I got this brilliant idea. Yeah. And it's not like I'm starting some computer training organization. You know, I'm telling my friends, I'm thinking of quitting my job, quitting my career, and starting a firewood business. I told my one friend this, and he said, yeah, he says, I know a guy down my street that sells firewood, and he has 3 washing machines in his front yard. Yeah. So, yeah. That was what I was, you know, trying to sell this to your spouse, that I'm going to we're going to keep the house and keep food on the table by me selling firewood. It was just because I had this idea. When I used to work for this grocery store chain, they had this concept called value added. And it's where you could go into the produce department and you can buy a cantaloupe for $2. Or you can buy a cantaloupe that's been split in half for $4. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Can that same concept apply to firewood? Firewood's a commodity like a cantaloupe, split it. So I just came up with this idea of, because you know the mantra in firewood is you can't make money selling firewood. So I was out to prove them wrong. And the one thing I realized was that you got to sell smaller quantities. You can pretty it up. You can, you know, this is getting into the weeds here about seasoned firewood versus green firewood. And you can start asking for more money. And the higher that you can get your numbers up, you know, the more likely it is that you're not going to lose your house. So I'm getting calls from people and they are wanting to take this step. Maybe they don't want to go full time, but they're thinking of getting started. And what I had learned was when I would ask people, I would get it kicked out. Like they didn't like it. They thought it was a silly idea. I still remember asking my one friend, and talk about nonverbal behavior. You can tell what was going on inside her head when you said, yeah, I'm thinking about making a career out of selling firewood, and you just get that grin, you know? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah. So I got the grin from them, and I knew what that meant. The other people that you speak with, I think that they're very well intended, but you know, they what if it to death. And they nail you with a bunch of well-intended pitfalls that could be waiting for you as you go on into this journey. You know, what if you fall and break your leg? What if your truck doesn't start? What if your phone doesn't ring? What if you can't find logs? What if you can't do this? What if? What I had figured out now, where I'm at right now, is whatever the pitfall is, they're there. But if you face them after you've become the business, you can handle it. If you address them usually before you take that step, it is usually enough for you to say the heck with it. I'm just going to go back to my cubicle. So that was always on my mind when people were calling me up because they're asking me for my advice. And I could have been well-intended and they would have said, you know, where am I going to get my logs? And that is my biggest opportunity as a provider. Procurement. I am still, into my 6-ish year, still struggling with my procurement. I cannot get enough logs. I could sell way more than I would ever get. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to answer this question to these people? And tell them just how it's practically impossible to solve, you know, and I'm not from your area. I have no contacts. And am I telling them to don't bother? So I was very cautious about what I would say to people. And that's where I finally I came up with this policy. It was, don't ask me for my advice. Number one, I'm not an expert. I just did what I did. But I do believe some of the elements of what I've done could have a positive effect on someone wanting to make this step. And it's probably going to anger the board, the panel discussion, Lou, here, because it runs contrary to, you know, your educated, methodical, business-oriented approach to business. I don't think it's reckless. I just think it's the most important step, and that is to get started. So when people call me now, if we get to that point, I tell them, guy, gal, it is on you, and don't ask me for my advice, because the only thing I can tell you that will be of any importance to you is the best time to have started this business was yesterday. The best time was yesterday. The second best time to start it is, well, I mean, what the heck, Lou? It's Saturday. You can start it today because everything's online. I had even looked at one of these online services, the filing my paperwork with Ohio to become a registered business, register my name and my business entity, an LLC or an AB LMNOP, whatever it was I decided to go with. You can do this online. You can do it through the Secretary of State or the state audit or something like that. You don't even need to use one of these services, a third-party service. You can do it yourself, and it's cheap. It was like $25, I think, to file a business entity. Wow, and it's, you know, that's the power. You can do it on a weekend too. So that was the big step for me, and that was always the hurdle, because I thought, oh my gosh, if I were to click send, I'm on the books now, and now it's become real. But that was the most important step for me, okay? But now, talk about being vulnerable. I really do believe before you click send, or before you send your check to that third-party operation, or if you use an attorney, okay? Before you make that, you are very vulnerable, and you are very susceptible to being kicked off of this journey. And I was very much that. Where I'm standing to you before you right now, you know, organizing the International Firewood Expo and being a world traveler on YouTube, it came down to this one afternoon when I was driving my car. I could have turned right and none of this would have ever happened. But instead I turned the other direction. And look what happened. This is the deal, guys. I had a meeting with my tax guy. He's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, getting ready to retire, but he was a lifetime an accountant. He had an experience running his own business. And I am driving to see him, and I'm vulnerable. But on the way there, I decided to stop. As I'm driving from Cortland to Howland, Ohio, there's a print shop, and I had this PDF of this really cool, it was just something I did. It was like a sales flyer. It was just something I did just to create inertia for me to get this ball rolling, and I'm going to make this actually happen. I stopped at this print shop, and I go in with my beautiful flyer, and I says, you think you guys could print these for me? She goes, sure. She goes, how many? And I says, I'm thinking of maybe 50, 100, you know? And she gave me the grin. That same grin that I got from my one friend. She politely told me, go away. we don't handle small potatoes like you. When you grow up, come back and see us. You know, that was the message she had. When I left, I felt dumb. I was deflated, and I was thinking, you know, this is never going to work. This is just, who am I fooling? You know, I can't even get a flyer printed. I'm trying to like keep the house and keep food on the table by selling firewood. And when I was pulling out of the driveway, I darn near turned right and headed back home instead of turning left and heading on down to my tax guy. But I did. I turned left, and I have told him on numerous of occasions, because he still does my taxes, I tell him this is all his fault, because when I took this to him and my idea about value-added firewood, he loved it. And he says, I think you need to go for it. I think you're on to something. I'm serious, though. Had he poo-pooed it, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I would be, this Saturday, I would be driving 1 hour in the office so that I could send that email. All right. So what I am saying, if you see the title of my presentation, I'm not being harsh. I'm just being, I think, protective of your brilliant idea, because your brilliant idea is brilliant to you. So I tell people, quit asking for people's advice. You don't need anyone's advice. You are in your 50s, okay? There is this relationship between, okay, you're 50, you don't have as much wiggle room to screw up because you have a lot more to lose than if you're in your 20s. But you also have a heck of a lot of life experiences and professional experiences. You have skills and knowledge and ability that a 20-year-old doesn't have. So maybe the probability of this going south is much lower than what it would be if you're in your 20s. So that's what I tell people. Go for it. The best time to have started this operation was yesterday. Quit asking for people's opinions, because their opinions don't matter. And the only thing that they could tell you is to put another hurdle in front of this brilliant idea that you have, and you will have never known if it could have been possible. So quit asking for people's opinions. If you come to me and ask for my opinion, I am going to tell you that get started. That's the best thing I can tell you, because running a business, Lou, is solving problems. My phone didn't ring when I first started, but guess what? I went out and I started finding accounts. I started pounding the pavement. I couldn't get a single stick of firewood to sell there for a while, but guess what? I went out and I found it. I problem solved and I kept it going, where had I mulled this over before I ever got started, I'd still be sitting in my cubicle. You know? Okay? So that's my message to you. Quit asking for people's advice. You already know everything that you need to know to get started. And if this is a hobby, you already have everything that you need. You have all of the tools. If you're baking, if it's a bakery, you got an oven. If you're woodworking, you got woodworking tools. You already have everything. Now the day may come, here's a snobby business word, you have to scale. Okay, that's a problem to solve. Go buy a bigger oven. Go buy a different machine. You can do it. Quit asking for people's advice. You already know what you need to do. Get busy. The best day to have started this operation was yesterday. And the second best time to start it is as soon as the Power 50 Summit is over with. It's that simple. It is so easy to start a business. And with the internet, oh my gosh, get yourself a website too. Different presentation for a different time. The last thing I want to leave you guys with is, and I feel deeply about this simply because I'm on this side of the fence now. If you are seriously considering starting your business, turning your side hustle into a business, I am imploring you to be exceptional, be awesome, be great. Quit copying what everyone else is doing. Quit taking someone else's machine and putting different paint on it. All right? That is just lazy. If this is the time, if this is the place for you to put your name on something, then be awesome about it. Be exceptional. Don't follow the herd. Don't do it the way everyone else does it. That was what I was faced in firewood when people would say, hey, you know, you can only, well, the mantra in firewood is you can't make money selling firewood. And the way I was looking at it, I was agreeing with them as long as you were to do it the way everyone else is doing it. So why would I even want to go out and ask other firewood companies what to do? Because I don't want to be like them. I want to be different. And I put it all out there on my YouTube channel. I show everything that I do. I've discussed my theories. I discuss my practices. I show what works. I show what didn't work. I put it all out there. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is what I do. And it's different from everyone else. And I still hear it from others saying, Joe, you spend way too much time doing this. You should do it like everyone else like this. And I just, you know, I said, well, I will continue. I will continue to do it wrong because when on my YouTube channel, I have this big roof under my firewood processor, and I'll stand under there in the shade and I'll answer all, you know, the questions that come in on all the comments of my video. And I get comments, I find this ironic, you know, the people telling me, I don't know what I'm doing everything wrong, I need to do it like this guy over here. As I'm replying to them, standing next to my $100,000 firewood processor, looking out over my yard filled up with product, you know, that's worth even more. And I'm thinking, I'll just continue to do it wrong, okay? Yeah. Okay, so that, I'm talking too much here, Lou. That is my message to you guys. And it's all waiting for you. You just got to be able to pay attention and listen to when that knock comes on the door. Opportunity is knocking. Open the door because, you know, it's really nice on this side. It is. Thank you, everyone. Well, Lou, thank you.
Ask you some questions
Yes.
here if I can.
You may.
First, Joe, I want to thank you for showing up here. I shouldn't say showing up, for accepting my invitation to join us. And Joe offered some insights that someone like me at my point in my career can look at and say, oh my God, I wish I'd had known you, you know, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in business, but I mean, I've been in business for a long time. But yeah, Joe, your insights. But let me ask you a question here, okay? What to you, and I think I know the answer, but what to you is the number one characteristic somebody should have who wants to start a business, side hustle, or is looking at a new career? What do you think they need?
They need to have bad hearing. Serious, you do, because I still hear it. I mean, what the heck, Lou? I'm moderately successful, and I still hear it. I hear it from customers. I don't hear it from family. They've been very good. I have the most awesome. It's my wife watching. I have the best wife in.
I haven't met her yet. I'm sure she is.
Yeah. I'm serious. You got to turn your ears off because it comes at you from every angle. And I don't know, people are well-intended. People are set in their ways and they think that it has to be this way or no way. And that's just what I start telling people. I will continue to do it wrong. Turn off your ears. And that's what, there's a skill that I learned, Lou, when I was a softball coach. I would have kids that would go to a hitting instructor. They'd pay a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Well, they would show up to practice and I'd always have one coach that would say, well, don't do that. Swing like this, different from the hitting instructor. I would tell the kids, listen, but ignore. All right. Listen to what they're saying, but ignore what they're saying. And that's what I do. When people tell me I don't know what I'm doing, I agree with them. Why not? But I will just ignore you while and I will continue to go on my own path.
It's funny because that is learning to ignore is a good idea. But also what you said too is, as I've gotten older, and obviously as you've got the experience too, is what we know is that it just takes a lot of energy to convince somebody differently. And what is this? Nassim Taleb, who wrote The Black Swan, he says something about if you have to convince somebody too much, it's just not worth it. And it's not. So yeah, I'm not somebody doesn't like what I do, I don't have to convince them. But how many $1 million businesses have they built? how many people like what you've seen?
Yeah, that gets down to who's in charge, and I would argue that it's the free market is in charge. And the market will tell you if you're doing everything right or if you're doing everything wrong. And that's the other message that I have to people is the other thing, you know, people are always asking everyone's opinion, you know, but they're looking to be talked out of starting this. The one thing that they're looking to do is develop the perfect plan. And I've heard that 1,000 times. I'm going to, you know, once I get everything in place, I'm going to get started. And that's just silly. All that means is that you are not serious. You are not serious about starting, and you're looking for every possible excuse to not get started. You will never have a perfect plan. My perfect plan blew up the very first time my phone rang. I was thinking I was going to have this business of delivering small bundled firewood to people that live in apartments that can't have big stacks, but they will pay a premium to have a firewood on the weekend. My first customer, my first call was that restaurant. So what do you know? I didn't even think of restaurants. Now I am delivering firewood only to restaurants. And then once I got that figured out, then I'm back in the residential. My perfect plan, you know, what did Mike Tyson say about perfect plans? You know, that's exactly what happens. Forget about this perfect planning, guys. The most important thing to do is to get started and to don't stop.
Mike Tyson said you got a perfect plan till you get punched in the face the first time, and then all of a sudden that plan changes. So yeah. Joe, I can't thank you enough, and it's so interesting because I am shocked that your entourage isn't with you, because if you watch Joe's channel, every place he goes, there's got this these people. Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe. I went to one of his events he had. Everybody's Joe, Joe, Joe. So I'm surprised your entourage isn't here.
Well, that is, you should try borrowing money off of people, and you will get a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Joe, thanks again, buddy.
All right,
I can't thank you enough. You incredible presentation. I learned a lot from you. Thank you. So listen, guys, we've got a few more folks coming up here, and I will tell you, no doubt in my mind, let me put this here, no doubt in my mind, you're going to learn a lot more. And Joe was, he's inspirational to me, and he's a mentor, but there's another person here who I call the Oprah of business consultants. And I call her the Oprah of business consultants because I'm going to read this to you because I wrote this down. She possesses a powerful combination of emotional intelligence, authenticity, relentless work ethic, and an incredible ability to connect deeply with people, making her a trusted figure who empowers and inspires others. She is also, and I'm embarrassed to say, because I'm not what she is, she's also the most organized person I've ever met. She's amazing, and she is, as much as Joe is to me a mentor, I got to say I've really come to respect Cheryl P. Perez. She's the CEO of Cheryl C. Perez Brands. She is also the chair of the Council of Smaller Enterprises, known as COSI. Now, listen, I realize there's a lot of folks out there that are watching this video, and a lot of folks are going to watch it after this day is over with. So you don't know COSI. Maybe you're in California. I've got a guy who messaged me, he said, I'm going to be in California. I live in California, and it's, of course, a 3-hour time difference, so maybe he's on now. I don't know. But the point is, we got folks all over the country, all over the world that are watching or will watch this video. You don't know COSI, but COSI is the largest business chamber of commerce in the country, in the United States of America. And who leads the board? Cheryl C. Perez. I'm going to welcome her up on the stage right now. Cheryl, come on up, please. And Cheryl's going to be the moderator of our panel discussion, and she's also going to introduce the other two panelists. So Cheryl, thank you so much.
Thank you. We are so excited to be here. That was an amazing, I'm getting like teary-eyed after that introduction. Yeah.
I don't BS, I'm too old for that.
Well, we are so excited, and I am excited to be leading this panel and get to introduce two of the most amazing panelists that we have. I am going to take my seat. I'm going to organize it, make sure that, can everybody see us okay? So before we get started,
I just want to say, hopefully you guys are getting a ton out of today. I mean, for Lou and 50 over 50 TV to put this together, to provide you with all of this amazing, valuable content is unheard of. So hopefully you guys are loving it. Make sure, those of you who are watching on YouTube, that you like and you subscribe and you share. I know the routine. And after we get past, also let us know if you've got questions. We are going to be taking questions around it. So make sure that you put it in the chat as you continue to watch. And those of you who are here live, we're going to also have some time for questions at the end. But before we get to those questions, I'd like to introduce our two panelists and bring them up. We've got Juan Tony. Juan is a dynamic certified integrative life coach, personal trainer, and motivational speaker, passionate about empowering others to achieve their full potential. As the CEO of Fit Forever You and Fit Forever Foods, Juan combines his expertise in fitness, nutrition, and personal development to guide clients on transformative journeys of mind and body. Juan has a strong background in goal setting, weight loss, team building, and the power of positive self-talk. And Juan's approach is both holistic and impactful. Juan is the founder of Juan Tony Worldwide, and he is committed to making a global difference in the lives of those he inspires. He provides a ton of great information, support, coaching, and development in the area of health and wellness. I'd like to call to the stage Juan Tony. Woo! Well, we have some sound effects in there. Nice to see you. How are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a seat. Get comfy. Because we're going to bring up our next panelist, who I had the honor of judging in a recent competition, which kind of like Cleveland Shark Tank. I was actually one of the sharks, guys, believe it or not. And she came up and presented her growth strategy for her business. And you guys know that I work with startup entrepreneurs, growth stage entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs who are actually in the mature stage as well, on their systems and their processes and their squads and their strategies. And so I was one of the tougher sharks because I kept listening to that growth strategy and I'm like, your growth strategy needs some work. But when she got up and talked about hers, we connected on a soul level. It was so good. So I am so excited to have her on the panel today and to get to pick her brain. Destiny is a Cleveland girl, born and bred. After graduating from high school in 1982, she enlisted in the U.S. Navy as a Russian linguist to see the world. 20 years later, she retired from the Navy as a cryptologic officer. Wow. All right. Began a second career as a defense industry executive and served her Northern Virginia community as a volunteer firefighter and EMT. Upon turning 50, newly divorced, and after a 26-year marriage with one adult daughter fully launched, she decided to leave the corporate world after 13 years and reinvent herself. She moved back home to Cleveland and opened a craft brewery-style urban winery in the 1920s era auto repair garage in her Cleveland Heights neighborhood. Destiny has reinvented herself a million times so far in her life, and her ninth reinvention is an entrepreneur and owner of Cleveland Urban Winery, where she's realized her dream of good wine made fun that celebrates Cleveland and creates community. Let's welcome to the stage Destiny Burns. Woo! How are you? It's so good to see you. Absolutely. Take your chair, get comfy. I'm going to turn a little bit towards you guys because we are about to keep it real talk, right? Oh, yeah. I'm a real talk kind of girl. And now I have these shoes to fill because he kind of told me I was Oprah. And oh my God, right? I mean, some of the biggest shoes to fill. I want to make sure we have enough cord here. Thank you. Thank you for coming up. There we go. There you go. Make sure we can reach it. All right, perfect. Okay, guys, are you excited? We're going to talk about side hustles. side hustles. And I'm not sure if you started your businesses as side hustles or not. So I want you guys to tell me a little bit about that, right? If you started your business as a side hustle, which most entrepreneurs really do, like you dabble in it before you go all in and take the full leap, it kind of becomes a side thing, maybe even a hobby, which I consider to be a side hustle as well. So tell us a little bit about the beginning of your journey and if your current empire started for you as a side hustle.
It's a funny question, and definitely it did start as a side hustle. I've been in the industry of health and wellness since about 1995. So I've been doing it a very long time. And during that time, there was actually not a lot of different studios that people went to for exercise. So I applied for a company called Bally's Total Fitness, 380 some locations during that time. So everyone went to Bally's. I worked with Bally's from 1995 to 2006. And then I actually went on ahead to, during that time, begin to get this burning in my stomach because there was more for me. During those Bally's era, I went from an assistant manager to an area supervisor. So it was a glass ceiling I was at that point. But then I began to actually feel that I need to be doing more outside of just managing these facilities in the Northeast Ohio area. So I actually created some business cards, some flyers. And because back then, there wasn't a social media thing. It wasn't, you had the internet, but back then it was pretty much just like MySpace. So there wasn't all this Facebook and Instagram and so forth.
I think you just aged all of us a little bit. Y'all remember MySpace?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I got flyers made, and also there was a local magazine called The Horizon, and that touched they made about 20,000 copies. So I put my energy and got a quarter-page ad in The Horizon. I began to market in Horizon, and I got a phone call someone wanted to begin doing some personal training. And that's when the conception was made of something actually is birthing. But she wanted to come at 4 a.m. And 4 a.m. comes mighty early. So I sat there and prayed about it.
You got to get up at 3 a.m.
I got to get up at 3 a.m. and got to get there for her. So, and mind you, it was actually on a Warrensville Heights high school track. So I wasn't in a facility at the gym I worked out of. I actually did this at a track. So I met her at 4 a.m., 3 days per week. Along with that, I got another client, actually, that was in Warrensville Heights where I serviced a lady named Kim. My next client was actually 6 a.m. out in Willoughby. So for those in the area, just kind of follow me as I'm trekking throughout my day. So 6 a.m., I had to get over to Willoughby and train my next client. Then there was an 8 a.m. client, Taylor. She was out in Westlake. So I trained Taylor 3 days a week. And then I still had to get to the gym by 10 a.m. and service and do my regular management duties.
So your side hustle was completely born
at
that time.
It was birthed. And then what ended up happening is this, luckily, me knowing and understanding numbers and business strategies, I knew I had to actually, for me to take this leap of faith, I had to make sure the numbers added up. So I took the time out, set the goals, knew how many people I had to service on a monthly basis to make the transition, and took the leap of faith and stepped away, and it's birthed into what is Fit Forever University.
Awesome. Well, what about you, Destiny? What was your initial journey, especially when we are talking about flash over a little bit just with you?
Okay. All right. So mine wasn't really a side hustle. It was more of like a hobby. In my military and civilian careers, I had always had the opportunity to travel. I lived overseas. So food and wine was kind of like a hobby for me. I was like an amateur foodie, and I loved going to wineries. And it was just the experience of it that I really enjoyed. So when I decided I kind of wanted a food or wine related someday lifestyle business. So I would pick up books here and there about how to open a tea room or how to open a restaurant or how to, just little books that I'd have on my shelf, just kind of as a little dream. And when I got to that 50, crossroads in my life where I was killing myself in the corporate world and I couldn't figure out why I was doing that anymore. My why was really calling me my freedom, independence, impact. And I wasn't having that in the corporate world. So I decided it was time to make that change. For my 50th birthday, I took my daughter and my two sisters who live here in Cleveland. My daughter lives in Virginia, and we went to Vegas. So I just needed my girls around me when I was going to make that big decision, what I was going to do. And we spent the weekend there together, like living it up for my birthday. And at the end of that weekend, I decided I was leaving DC and coming to Cleveland. So I was able to work from home and travel with my company, General Dynamics, for a year. And that enabled me to really work on my business plan and figure out what was I going to do. Because I had all those random books on the shelf, but I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. So I got serious and I looked at the market in Cleveland. And it's such a great foodie town, right? So, but I didn't want a restaurant. That's a red ocean of competition. But the brewery culture in Cleveland is really special. You know, there's if a brewery makes a good product and they serve a neighborhood, they thrive. So I figured if it works with beer, why not wine? Because I like wine more than beer. So there's 3 breweries in my neighborhood, and they all are thriving for that reason. So I figured, okay, let me come up with this craft brewery style winery concept. The only problem is I don't know how to make wine. So I had to find a key employee who could help me design the space, because how do you make wine in a garage in a neighborhood? You know, so I really did kind of bring these concepts from the ground up with bringing in some key help. And, you know, I didn't know how to run a point of sale system, and I didn't know, like, all those things he was talking about before. You know, had to learn all those things from the ground up. But it's been a real journey, and it's been really fun. But I jumped in with both feet. You know, once I got the architect that came into that garage and laid out kind of what it would look like, once I saw those drawings, I was like, yeah, I'm in.
You know, it's so awesome to hear you guys' story and journey. And it's so interesting because I do work so closely with so many startup entrepreneurs, or even those who are aspiring, especially those who are coaches or consultants or service providers, or do something that's expert based. And I hear the same types of things that I'm hearing from you. You're in that corporate world, and you've got this little voice in your head that keeps saying, this ain't it, this ain't it, this ain't it. And for a while, you tell the voice to shut the heck up. You know, you're like, shut up, hello. And the voice then gets louder. I mean, not like, you know, real voices. You're not like talking to it, but you know what I'm saying. You get that itch, and then you slowly start to kind of fulfill that itch. And it's funny because I always teach in my startup roadmap, which is a little mini course that I provide. And I have like a bundle for startup entrepreneurs that I provide. And I always teach in that last lesson, start it as a side hustle, because for a year or whatever your quit date is, I say you got to set a quit date, number one, and that's your time frame. But for that time frame, you've got to make the plan, think it through, come up with the idea, solidify it, do your market research, figure out your niche, understand your audience, like really use that time where you've got that financial security and you've got those benefits still to really make it go, and then dabble, because that's a great testing ground. And when we talk about those steps, I want to get into, because we're doing it as a side hustle, the money. Right? There's a lot of folks out there who are probably watching us right now who want to start this, are afraid to start it. And one of the biggest reasons why they're afraid is because they have financial concerns. You know, number one, how much is this business going to cost me? Number two, do I have the money to even put into it? Number three, can I do this and still make money and still pay my bills? Because when you are, let's just say, familiar with MySpace, right? When you're familiar with MySpace, you have bills. Life has already been lifing. And life, when it's lifing, costs money. So what would you say would be some of the biggest financial concerns that you had when you were starting your businesses, even if they were the side hustles? Because you both mentioned the numbers and you both mentioned taking that time. What were some of the biggest financial concerns that you had, and how did you address those? How did you deal with them and move forward to where you are today with your empires?
I would say mine was that advertising and the marketing. You know, I knew it was a key asset because you have to have a certain amount of butts in the seat to do what you need to do to produce the cash flow. So what I went in was with a MVP, minimal viable product, which was myself. I created an idea and put myself on that flyer, got my body together first, and presented as a six-pack opportunity to get ready for within 6 weeks. And then from there, I went on ahead and invested the time. And from those phone calls that came through, I began to follow up. And then, so if you even can go that route, if you have a product that you have to get out there, use a pre-sale and get the marketing and advertising going, and then begin to pre-sale your offer to generate the revenue. There's crowdfunding options. There's amazing teams you can get involved with. There's angel investors. But first and foremost, think about it, let it sink in deep, and then take that leap of faith.
Yeah, me, I did the exact opposite. So I had a nice nest egg because I had a nice paycheck in the corporate world for all those years, and I had a nice nest egg, and I put it all on the line, plus a lot of the bank's money. So this is 100% my business. I had to go get a big build out loan, so about 50% of I put in. Yeah, it's a brick and mortar, and I had to do a lot of build out, a lot of equipment, a lot of inventory, and I didn't really realize, I'll be honest, at the time what I was getting myself into. But, once I was in it 100%. I have, I tell people, my midlife crisis, you're standing in it. When they come to visit me. So I still carry a lot of debt. I'll be honest with you. It's, but my father always taught me that money is a tool, and I'm not afraid of debt. One of the reasons I'm able to do this without a lot of fear is that I have a military pension. So I'm not dependent upon revenue from the business to pay my life bills. I can cover my mortgage and my bills with my Navy pension in Cleveland because the cost of living here is so affordable. I could not have done this business in DC in a million years. In Cleveland, I could do it, and I knew I could do it. And when I moved to Cleveland, I built a lifestyle for myself that I could afford within those parameters. So I didn't have that pressure to have to support myself with my business. I could really invest in my business and in myself and not have to worry about if I was going to be able to eat. I also get my health care for the VA because I'm a combat veteran. So that also was another way that I mitigated that financial risk. Now, some things I didn't think about was things like COVID. I mean, holy crap, that was not in my business plan. So when the government shut down my business for 3 months, I still had overhead. I still had rent. I had employees. I had to lay off. I had all of that on my back. And then as we came out of COVID, interest rates doubled on my SBA loans. So those were challenges that I wasn't really planning for, and have had to really work hard on to keep my business afloat. The service industry is brick and mortar service industry is a totally different thing than putting yourself on a flyer and that's your MVP. What I'm doing is completely different, and it's really tough. It's really tough.
I mean, that's a very good point. I think that sometimes when I work with folks who come to me and they're familiar with my space and they say, I want to start a business, what kind of business should I start? Oftentimes I will say, find a skill, right? Find your passion, find where they intersect. That first step is getting your mindset together because mindset is critical. And finding the intersection of those things. And that's where you should go. Once you have gotten a list of the intersection of your skills and your passions, the next step is to do the research and to validate those ideas. Make sure that there's a market for it. Make sure that there's, you understand the competitive nature of it. And also make sure that there's people who actually pay you for that intersection. And so you both have done that very well and very different business models with very different types of businesses. But it sounds to me from what you've described and what you've explained about your journey so far is that you both dug deep and found a passion and a skill that intersected. And you decided at that point to begin building a business, an empire, and financial freedom around it and lifestyle freedom around it. So if there's someone out there that's wondering right now, what type of side hustle or what type of business should I really be focused on starting? Would you say they should prioritize passion or profitability when making the decision? Passion or profitability?
That's a great question. They both had their pros and cons. When you're passionate about it and starting that side hustle, that passion is going to get you up, get you moving, and keep you going through the storm when you feel like giving up. That's a great tool to have, being passionate about it. But the con is that it doesn't, passion doesn't pay the bills. So you have to have a game plan. And on the other end of the spectrum, profitability is very important, because once you start generating revenue, you have opportunity to actually grow your business, scale, and become much more successful. So profit is definitely where it's at. But the con with that is, if you're just working for money, you're going to burn out pretty fast.
You're gonna hate it.
You're going to hate it.
Yeah.
So I always suggest, when you first start your side hustle, think about it, sit down, write on paper, if I didn't have to make money doing this, what would I do that I love doing? What is your passion? Like Cheryl just shared. Write that down and sit with it for a nice bit of time. Ideas are going to begin to stir and come up, and write those ideas down, because the incubation and gestation process has begun. It's happening. It's inside you and it's happening. So once that happens, then you got to figure out what's going to be, is there a need for it? So do your research. Is there a need for it? You look out there to other people doing it. That means you can actually monetize it as well, which is awesome. But there's a million people doing it. So then you have to figure out what's going to be your niche. What's your unique selling proposition? What's going to make you cut above the rest? Then you zero in with laser-like focus to create yourself an opportunity to set your world on fire with authenticity, and let them come see you burn.
Yeah, there's that old adage that revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. So I always kind of keep that in mind. But for me, it's really all about the passion. So that's what keeps me going every single day. Running a small business is literally the hardest thing I have ever done. And I've done hard stuff in my life. But running a small business is the hardest thing I've ever done. I love that I learn something new every day. I love that I get to live my why every day, and I have complete and 100% control over how I react to the market conditions and to the customers to create the kind of impact that drives my passion, that fulfills my why. And through my business, I can do a lot of philanthropy. Through my business, I can reach a lot of people. And I tell my staff that we're not in the wine business. We're in the relationship business. And that's really what keeps me going and what keeps my business going. And I think what brings customers in the door is that differentiation. Like you said, you got to find your niche. You got to find out what makes you different. You can buy a glass of wine in 1,000 places in Cleveland. Why would you come to Celia Urban Winery? Because it's a community center that makes wine. It's a great place to hang out. You can celebrate there. You can connect there. You can grow there. And that's what it's all about. And if I wasn't doing that purposely and deliberately every single day, I would be in a rubber room somewhere.
Well, I knew it was your passion because you have amazing wine earrings on right now. I'm just going to say, if you guys can't see her wine earrings, we need a close-up of the wine earrings, because that is proof that we are living in the passion. I agree with you so much. Those of us who know what MySpace is, and that's where we're going to kind of stay in that space. Those of us who know what MySpace is, we get to a certain point in our life where we are no longer doing stuff for the money or for the other stuff. We're doing it because we're at a point where we're at the top of the hill, right? And we want to make sure that the rest of our time here on earth, however much more time we have, is full of passion. And I've gone through that journey myself, in my entrepreneurial journey of 25 years of being, a consultant and a coach and an online course and digital, product provider for small business owners. I've always been in operations. I've always been an operations consultant. And I started out my career doing that for other small businesses, and have gotten to the point now where my complete 100% focus is on the audiences that I love and that get my juices going. And that's my startup and my growth stage entrepreneurs who are trying to achieve that same feeling. So I agree. You cannot pick one over the other. You got to have both, right? I mean, you got to have profit or you ain't going to do it very long, but you got to have passion or you'll never be able to get through the bumps and bruises. you'll throw in the towel. So I agree. So now let's talk about the fact we brought up MySpace a few times, and it got me thinking. We are in this world of technology, right? I mean, look around. We've got like 15 cameras. We got folks with phones. I'm like literally using an iPad. We got a big screen behind us. So technology is a thing. And those of us who know what MySpace is might have some problems with technology. And now you almost can't function or have a business or a side hustle or anything without technology. But the misnomer, I think that the rumor out there is that if you are of the age range where you may be familiar with MySpace, that you may have some challenges there. I disagree. You know, I feel like I am IT for my entire office. But how can our audience and those watching embrace technology when starting their business and starting their side hustles? What are some of the ways that you have been able to embrace technology and even get yourself up to speed, because it is changing every day, right? It's going nuts every day. What are some of the things that you've done to embrace it, and how would you recommend that they do it as well?
Well, first I would recommend is using the technology in the basic form of creating your website. Once you have the vision of what you want to get your brand out there, and you have actually the niche, create the image to get it out there amongst the world. Get the website built, get it out there. And speaking of websites, mine is fit4university.com. Please check out the website. There's so many different services that I offer to help you transform mentally, physically, nutritionally, and financially. So scroll to the bottom and click for a free session. Also, there is a new era of Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and with YouTube, and with myself personally, my niche is stronger through the social media of Facebook, because my niche market is that 35 to 70-year-old individual. I promote on all 4 platforms, but my strength and lead generation comes from my Facebook advertisement. So I'm posting on all of them, but I zero in on that. Along with the technology, take time out and learn the current trends. Whatever your business is, get the advertisement coming to your doorstep, or go digitally and read the magazines. And if you don't have time to do that, go to school. There's no time for school. There's always YouTube University. Learn the technology you need to do to continue to ramp up your brand and your business.
Yeah, I always say I'm a digital immigrant. You know, I was not born a digital native. So I have struggled mightily with technology. Even though I worked in the high-tech cybersecurity defense industry, I sold that stuff. I didn't necessarily know how to use it. So that's been a real challenge for me. I do use Facebook and Instagram as well, but TikTok like totally mystifies me. I don't understand it. I'm working on that. But my website is cleurbanwinery.com. And we are able to sell and ship wine to 38 states. So check it out. So I took a digital marketing certification last year to kind of help me fill that blind spot, because I am the marketing department. I run all the marketing. I did take those skills, repurposing those skills I had from the defense industry in marketing and branding. I've done all of that work for my company and transitioned those into this new world that I'm in. But it's a constant evolution. Like you're saying, you got to up your skills. I'm still afraid, you know, of that stuff. It still intimidates the heck out of me, but it's so important to be able to reach people that way. And just taking those, there's a lot of courses, there's a lot of help out there to do that. And you really do need to dip into that to improve your skills.
I love that advice from the digital marketing for both of you guys, and being able to talk about that new social media. It's mandatory, right? I mean, if you are really seriously considering starting your business right now, or growing a business or a side hustle, yeah,
Yeah, one other thing that I've been super successful at is earned media. I don't like to pay money for marketing if I can at all avoid it. So like anytime, like coming here today to be here on this panel, anytime anybody gives me an opportunity to sit in front of a camera or to have a microphone and to talk about my business and to talk about being an entrepreneur, I take it 100%. The answer is always yes. So there's plenty of opportunities for earned media in all different kinds of genres to be able to get your business out there without spending a penny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one more note to piggyback off both these ladies is using that social media platform, it's free advertisement. Become that person that they know, like, and trust. That's the first step to actually growing your business. And because you're posting daily and sharing, you find out what the pleasure or pain is of that individual. You begin to service that need. When it's time for them to reach out, they're going to reach out to you because you're constantly giving what's called a soft drip daily on the tools that's needed. Not just selling. You want to actually put the information out there and become a person of service. And then the business is going to come.
Love that. Yeah. Social media, digital marketing, it's a thing. Especially, I don't know if MySpace. I literally, when MySpace was out, I didn't believe that that anything was going to happen after that. I'm like, oh, this is all like a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. And yeah, now I have like a full-fledged YouTube channel and literally pumping out content like a crazy person. And so I agree 100% that one of the biggest fears that people have when they are starting their business or considering moving into a side hustle is how will they get their clients, right? Is how will they get their clients? So I love that the advice that you guys infused in there around technology also includes some marketing tips and tools. And so we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do, I want to make sure that everybody out there watching knows that if you've got questions for any one of us up here on this panel, now's the time to put them in the chat, because in about 5 minutes, we will be taking questions. We're going to do a little rapid fire exercise here with our panelists, which I love. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what I kind of know are the top 2 things. And then we're going to get a little bit more information about them as well. I'd like to note for Lou and for 50 Over 50 TV, one of the things I've been thinking about as I sit here is I want to offer something very exclusive for Lou's audience. I have a Start Your Business bundle that includes 10 of my top selling mini courses, and on everything from starting your business, figuring out your passion, to profit, all the way to creating your website. There's tons of bundles in it. And normally I sell the bundle for $497, but I am going to give it to Lou's audience today for $97. So I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I don't know. My team is probably watching saying, what the heck, CP? But yeah, I will make sure that I get Lou the codes and everything to add to the description on the live stream. I will also be adding this to my YouTube channel, but I want to make sure that your audience has it, because if they're serious about wanting to start their business, they're going to need some help and support. And I think that bundle will be a great fit for them. So I will make sure that I figure out how to do it and get you the links. All right. Okay. So rapid fire a little bit here. Get your questions in, guys. Rapid fire. 3 marketing tips that you would give our audience. 3 marketing tips, your top 3. And I want you to kind of do it like you got 60 seconds to give them 3 so that we can do like 2 more. Okay. 60 seconds, top 3 marketing tips.
Number 1 marketing tip would actually set a certain time each day that you get out there and put your promotion out into social media. Become that algorithm. Tip number 2 is actually find out who your avatar is. Have an avatar. What is your client? What does that potential new customer look like? Visualize exactly what it looks like. And marketing tip number 3 is never stop the hustle. Everybody is a potential. So walking through the store, talking to family and friends, everything and everyone you talk to, give the opportunity to share your service. Don't be scared to reach out, touch someone, because there's 6 degrees of separation on your way to success.
Okay, I would say number 1 is value content, not just selling. There's got to be a combination. Building that trusted relationship, I think, is super important. Number two, I would say be authentic. People can smell it right away if you're being insincere or anything else. Just be your true self, your true brand all the time, 100%. And then I also keep it within the structure of your brand. Our brand is good wine made fun that celebrates Cleveland and creates community. And everything we do is aligned with one of those three tenets, and that includes our marketing. So that keeps it nice and tight and nice and focused.
I love that. Listen to those tips, guys. And they did it in less than a minute, which I even love even more. But I want you to know, listen to those tips, because these two folks, while they are also business owners and CEOs of their organizations, I guarantee you they are the chief marketing officers as well. We are generally the CMO, COO, CEOs of our businesses for a long time. So they know what they're talking about. Okay, rapid fire. 3 things. We got 60 seconds. Top 3 most common mistakes that you made when you were first starting out your business. 3 mistakes that you made that you feel are pretty common, because I'm sure you roll with other entrepreneurs and other folks who want to start side hustles and other folks who are starting a business. So what would you say are the 3 common ones that you made along with those folks?
First mistake I made was actually not planning out far enough far as the forecast financially. You want to know your numbers annually, and breaking down that number annually, you have to figure out what will be monthly, and then from monthly down to the daily, taking the daily goal and figuring out how many individuals or products do we have to produce and distribute to generate the revenue to stay out in front of your number to begin generating profit. Number 2, don't scale too fast. You want to make sure that you're taking time and building your business, your brand, and it's actually got a good flow going before you scale. And number 3, I'm thinking here with number 3.
There's Jeopardy music playing.
I see. Number 3. That I actually haven't come back to the last one.
No problem.
Okay, the first one I would say is I didn't understand my numbers for probably a couple of years. I figured as long as I have money in the bank and I can pay my bills, I'm good. But it wasn't until really COVID hit that I really had to dig in and understand my cost of goods, understand all those nitty gritty things. And now that I have bookkeepers and accountants that also understand my business, because it's super complex. And I didn't really understand the complexities of it. Now that I do, I can really run my business by the numbers, and it makes a huge difference. Number 2, I thought I had to be in my business every day for it to work, but you can't work on your business if you're constantly working in your business. So that is a really important thing to do. The mistake I made was I was in my business all the time. So now I like to work on my business. The third is I didn't have a succession plan. When you start your business, you have to figure out, how am I going to get out of it? What's next? Is this going to be a family thing where I pass it down? Am I going to sell it? You have to plan that from day 1, not from year 10. So that was a mistake I'm making and still living with right now.
Number 3 just popped in was the systems and automation. Far as where I come from, and at the age of everything was paper. And that's how we're used to doing things, keeping track of everything as far as ledgers. So it takes time when going that route. And so getting your CRMs and getting far as your lead base set up, and far as the bookkeeping, having those paperless world is where I was at. Once I got that clicking, my life was so much easier.
That's my jam. We were talking about that beforehand. That is my jam, systems and automation. So you guys, it has been absolutely amazing spending this time with you and getting a chance to pick your brain and to experience what I think is the path that so many of those of us out there watching and in the room today want to pursue. There were so many different tools, especially if you're locally, that were mentioned today, that I definitely have to give a plug for an organization that I love dearly. I actually am an instructor with Cuyahoga Community College at the Center for Entrepreneurship. I know that they're probably going to be talking today at some point, but I have to say a lot of the things that our panelists shared today, you can learn in classroom with even me as one of your instructors. They've got podcast studios available for you to come out and begin your marketing journey. There's so many resources and tools, so make sure that you check out Cuyahoga Community College. We also know and love as Tri-C around here. They love them some entrepreneurs. And let me see, do we have any questions that came up on the live or any from our audience? Anybody out there thinking about their side hustle or they're starting their business? You got any questions for our panelists for our last 3 minutes? All right, let's do it.
Does one offer any other types of coaching?
What was the question?
Does one offer any other types of coaching?
Does Juan offer any other types of coaching?
Actually, I do. I have a young men's mentorship program to help youths between the ages of 12 to 22 begin their paradigm shift and understanding far as how to transform into a healthy, successful young adults. It's called Club Legit Leadership Development Program. And there's also LifeSync Coaches, which is actually a coaching program where we're based upon helping individuals as well as companies bridge that gap in finding balance with the work and health space. So lifesynccoaches.com is where you can find all the information, and also you can subscribe and check out the tools within that. So my passion has always been helping folks for mental health and their overall physical well-being. And that kind of transferred from Fit Forever University to the mentorship program and as well as LifeSync. So thanks for that question.
Love it. All right. Any other questions?
One more question from the next speaker. This is from Tim. How do you go about identifying a need, as in for like a consulting business? Like, how do you identify that need that you need to fill?
Okay, well, I will chime in really quickly on and help answer that. How do you identify a need that exists is primarily for you to do your market research. Market research is at the core of validating your business idea, Tim. And so if you have already gotten past the first step that we've all talked about, which is your mindset, figuring out your passion and your skill and where they intersection, coming up with those business ideas. The second step that I recommend every single person take is take those business ideas and now begin to dive into the market. Figure out what the industry is, if you fit in, how many competitors are out there, and trust me, you want to have competitors. I just want to be clear on that. You don't want to find a niche where there's no competitors, because that means that ain't nobody paying for it, okay? And then also where there is people who will actually pay for it. And once you start that market research component, you will definitely figure out that need. It'll be clear in the evidence that there's a need and that there are people who will pay for the need. You guys have any insight into that?
Yeah, that's the main thing. And the need I was able to cover during COVID was folks couldn't get outside to exercise. And that's what birthed my online virtual bootcamp program, which is now in about 28 states. So it took me into a whole nother atmosphere with my service. And it came out of birthing the need for folks to get healthy mentally and get moving, so not getting that quarantine 19 plus.
You have anything? Okay, perfect. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for your time today, your expertise, for letting us pick your brain. I know that I used to hate that phrase when people are like, let me pick your brain. I'd be thinking that sounds gross, but it is Halloween season, so I'm okay with it right now. It has been an absolute pleasure. Please make sure, again, guys, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and still put them in if you're watching outside of the live stream, and Lou will get the questions over to the panel, and we can always answer them going on. And it has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you guys so much. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I'll get you that code. I'll figure out how.
Please do that. I'll make sure I promote it on our Google Ads too. So cool. Well, listen, thank you so much, panel. It was really a pleasure to listen to people who have been walking the walk. and people who have actually done what I think some of us really would like to see ourselves do. But now what I want to do, now I'm going to introduce you to Suzanne Ortiz. She's the Director of Entrepreneurship and Educational Development at Corporate College. It's a division of Cuyahoga Community College, which I think I did mention a couple times now. Let me put this microphone here. That I got my start, and I attribute a lot of my success, if I've had some success, but I attribute it to going to Tri-C, having great instructors, having people that just really took me under a 17-year-old kid under their wing and really helped me. So I'm very, very grateful to Cuyahoga Community College. And for those of you who are watching, and I want to keep stressing this, if you're watching this program online, which most of you are, as I looking at the numbers, I do want to emphasize that Tri-C does have online programs, and you can go on their website. I'm going to put a link in the description box so you can check that out. But for now, let me just go ahead and just talk a little bit for a second or two to introduce you to Suzanne Ortiz. Again, I said she works for Tri-C, or works with Director of Entrepreneurship and Educational Development at Corporate College. But let's talk a little bit about Tri-C. Tri-C was established in 1963. Tri-C is Ohio's oldest and largest public community college. It offers over 1,000 courses each semester across more than 200 career and technical fields. Tri-C has a long history of delivering affordable, high-quality education. Tri-C has served more than 1.2 million community members since its founding. I want to tell you, when I signed up, when I was taking courses at Tri-C back in the 70s, which is when I did, for my semester, it was $300. It's a little bit more than that now, I'm guessing, but back then it was $300. So how can you beat that? So today, Suzanne's going to be sharing with you valuable insights on a topic that's close to many of us: achieving educational goals as we age. Please join me in welcoming Suzanne Ortiz.
School, this is fun, it's funny, no tests, no homework unless you want it, but it's really fun.
When I first was going to do it, I was a little bit hesitant, but try it and you'll love it. It's a great way to spend a Friday.
It's a good time, you get to learn things, be around some nice people. Encore's a great thing.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and I love the little shameless plugs I've been getting throughout. One of the best things about the video is it was unscripted. Those are really our students and our instructors. We kind of just set up a test and we're like, hey, we want to get a testimonial from you. Can you do it? And so they send. So every time I see that, it puts a smile on my face, and it really gives like a little bit of a tear in my eye, because you can see individuals love our program. So I am here today, as Lou mentioned, I'm Suzanne Ortiz. I'm with Corporate College. We are a division of Cuyahoga Community College. We're the non-credit arm. So you can think of us as the non-traditional student, so not getting your associate's degree. We do offer certificates. We have lifelong learning. My main focus was Encore, but also listening to everyone about the side hustles. CP actually gave the shameless plug that I love, the Center for Entrepreneurs. So I'm going to talk about both of those today. So let's start with Encore. Encore has actually been around for almost 50 years. It started in 1975, which is really unbelievable to think about. It is an opportunity for individuals such as yourself to come on campus at our Eastern and Western campus to learn about everything to entertainment, history. You saw spirituality, religion, pretty much anything that you could think of. One of our instructors is in the audience. He does TV game show. I heard CP talking about Jeopardy. He even does Jeopardy in class. We also do virtual. We have virtual classes. So those of you who don't live here, you can still be involved with people. And virtual is you log into WebEx and you're watching people. So very similar to what you're doing now. And you can put items in the chat. You can even talk to us. And it's really a great opportunity. We have 50-minute classes. So we talk about as we age, the mental health, the physical health, your bones, your joints, all that kind of stuff. We have 50-minute classes, and then 10 minutes you're running to your next class. And then you do it again, and then you run to your next class. So it's really an opportunity to get yourself moving, and also allows you to do social activities. We actually had to choose our date of registration because our classes were getting closed out so quickly. And the reason we did that is because I'm calling Sally and I'm saying, hey, Sally, you want to take this class with me? Okay, hold on. I got to go call Joy. Oh, wait, no, I got to go call Sam too. So everybody was really getting together to be able to have really great discussions. So you're in class, as Bonnie mentioned, you're in class with people and you're interacting with them. It's really a great opportunity. So I have my catalog here. We do send a paper catalog to everyone. And this is like our Western campus. And those of you I know who are live streaming, you're not physically here, but these are all the classes that we're offering. I mean, it's really an amazing program. It is entirely instructor ran. They choose what they want to teach, and then we basically just build the schedule. So as you're looking at, achieving your educational goals, what are they? I mean, is it just, to keep your brain moving? Is it just to, have a social environment? Those are things that you want to think about. It allows you to interact with people. My dad is unable to leave the house. And so during COVID, I was like, oh, Dad, I'm like, we've got virtual. We finally have virtual. And he was on it. And I consider my dad to be an extremely intellectual person. And for him to say to me, Suzanne, those people are really smart. I'm like, what? I'm like, so are you. But, the questions that people ask, and our instructors are able to easily answer those questions just with nothing, no effort, because everyone does the research. Everyone has a passion. You've been hearing that word throughout, passion and joy. That's what everything is about. As we age and wanting to achieve those goals are based on our passion, our love, what we really want to learn. That's what Encore is about. Encore is about the items that you're doing and wanting to learn and not having to learn. And so with that, I'm going to transition over with Encore. And those of you who are interested in Encore, I know Lou's going to put our website in there. We do have neighborhood scholars. That's for individuals who want to go out into the Cleveland area and be able to learn more about different things. Like we do church tours. We have the Canal Way tours. We have Cleveland Museum of Art. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. But let's transition over to the Center for Entrepreneurs. And I also have little pictures of that. So got little flyers here. And CP mentioned the podcast studio. So I want to look at some of the notes that we had talked about today. So we had Joe talking about firewood. And I don't know about you, but I was glued to my seat. One of the reasons I was is the passion, right? We had Destiny talking about her wine. You heard passion. You had Juan talking about his coaching. There's passion, right? And the question that CP asked was passion or profit? Believe it or not, one of the first classes in our program is preparing your passion for profit. Why are we doing that? If you want to start your own business, I would suggest not starting on something you're not passionate about. Right? If I'm going to start a business, I love volleyball. It's wonderful. Those of you who are live streaming, I'm 6'3". So being a woman, 6'3", been that since 8th grade, it was very difficult. People made fun of me a lot. But one of the things that I loved was sports, and I loved volleyball. And if I wanted to go and start my own business, I am going to start it in volleyball. Why? Because I love it. I will wake up every morning going, oh, I get to play volleyball today. Oh, I get to coach volleyball. Oh, I get to pass on my knowledge that I had. You want to be able to have something that you're passionate about, and that will help you achieve those goals. So when you finally do have that passion, you got to come over to us in the Center for Entrepreneurs at Corporate College. So we do a number of different things. So right now we are offering the Discovery Track, which is for individuals who, just like me, have an idea of what we want to do with our business. We have preparing your passion for profit. We have creating your business structure. Joe talked about it, the EIN. That's the business that you have to do from a state. You want to get your EIN. We talk about your intellectual property. We then go into establishing your brand. We also have launch it. So we're looking at getting a brand, getting yourself out on the website. CP, as you saw, her passion, that's why she's in our program. Our program are entrepreneurs teaching entrepreneurs. You will not be able to learn what you need to learn about starting a business from me. I have not started a business. Right? My dad has started a business because he's an accountant, and my husband has started a business because he's a graphic designer. But they're solopreneurs. They're not also looking to expand, right? My dad just did accounting work in his home. But CP, she's started her own business. She has a successful business. We want you to hear from her just like you wanted to hear from her today. Our second track after the discovery track is the foundation track. Those are for individuals who are who have started their business and at least have some type of clients. We're looking at your business plan. Juan mentioned it, right? You have a passion, you need a plan. We help you with your business plan. The second class is we're going to look at your financial statement, how much you're making, how do you even know you're making money, how much are you pricing your product for. The next class is crafting your niche. Juan also talked about automated. We talk about AI. We talk about marketing, just information like that. And then the final one is pitching. And CP and Destiny talked about that too. We teach you how to pitch, just like you were going to go into a pitch competition. In a way, you can think of it like your 30 or 60-second elevator pitch, but it gets a little bit more complicated because you want to talk about your finances and you want to talk about your marketing. You want to talk about your target audience or your avatar, which I didn't even know what an avatar was a year ago until I got into the Center for Entrepreneurs. So those are the different programs that we teach. For those of you who are out of state, unfortunately, you can't go into the Center for Entrepreneurs because we want to make sure it's in person. We want to make sure that you're cohort based so that we can help the ecosystem and help you all yourselves. We have many entrepreneurs who come into our class and like, oh, you do marketing? Can you help me? They're like, yeah, you do financing, right? You can help me. They're like, yeah, sure. So we all partner together to be able to help each other. Eventually, we'll have an acceleration track and an expansion track for those individuals who are looking to go farther. The 10,000 Small Businesses program is also in the Center for Entrepreneurs. For those of you who are not familiar with that, that's with Goldman Sachs. And then we also have a speaker series. And speaker series, we have different individuals who are coming in. We had LaShawn Brown, who was talking about screen skins, which is amazing. So please check him out. And we also had Yalitza, who came in, was talking about her dolls. And then we're going to have some more that are coming out. We'll all be on our website. We have workshops. And then as CP mentioned, we do have a podcast studio. So for those of you who are interested in doing podcasting, we have a studio that you can come out. We'll even teach you how to podcast. I know Lou did a video, an interview with Josh Trokey, who is our instructor. The benefit of Josh is, so not only did he write our curriculum for the podcasting class, he is our podcast producer. So when you come into our studio, you are literally learning and having him produce. So all you have to do is come in with your content. And then he is also a 10,000 Small Business graduate, and he owns his own podcasting studios. So when we tell you we want to make sure that you're coming for entrepreneurship, we are involving everybody from the entrepreneurial world. So those are the things that we're doing from the Center for Entrepreneurs perspective, as well as Encore. And then another hat that I wear is we do professional development training. So Lou mentioned bookkeeping and Destiny mentioned digital marketing. We have classes for that as well. Those are offered online too. So it's self-paced, self-study. So you basically get 6 months to a year to complete the curriculum. So pretty much anything you could think of, we offer payroll virtually. We offer enrolled agent virtually. We offer leadership training, Lean Six Sigma, ISO. I mean, I could go on, and I'm only given 15 minutes. So I'm sorry, but I can't talk about everything we're doing. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is something that I know we talk about a lot is money. Right? Funding and how do we pay for things. As Lou mentioned, we are part of Tri-C, so we are a very low cost program. Our Encore program is $99. You can take up to 6 classes. Some of the classes, like when you look at Neighborhood Scholar, all of those prices fluctuate. The Center for Entrepreneurs, the Discovery, and the Foundation track are 100% scholarship funded. We are unbelievably grateful to our sponsors. We have a number of them who are providing us with funding to make sure that you have no barrier. So the only thing that you have to do is show up to class every day and work on your business. I mean, seriously. The Discovery track is 4 weeks, 2 days a week in the evening, and the Foundation track is 6 weeks. And you come to class, you get fed right away in the very beginning, because we understand that a lot of you, this is your side hustle and you're working full time. So you come in, you get fed, you go to the class, and you literally work on your business. So you're working on your business plan, you're working on your EIN, you're physically doing everything there. We want to take that hard legwork out of it, because we want you to be very successful. So when you leave at the end of the Discovery track, your business should be launched. And at the end of the Foundation track, you should be looking and making a profit. One of our students actually, he went through our Discovery track, and he started off with an idea. And then when he was done with the Discovery track, he already launched his business. Then he came back for the Foundation track, and now he's already making revenue. He already has a plan in 3 years that he wants to quit his job. And he's under 30. So the fact that we are preparing that, and he's had to pay nothing. And then we also had our very first pitch competition, and we have a mini grant opportunity. So we are making sure that we have some type of funding that is out there for everybody. And then, you know, if you have a passion, come contact me. Lou's going to put all of our information on there. If you want to be an advisor, if you want to be a mentor, if you want to be a coach, if you want to be an instructor, whether it's for Encore, whether it's for corporate college, whether it's for the Center for Entrepreneurs, anything. I mean, we're here for you. So thank you very much. And I know Lou's going to come up, and if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was really informative, and I will put the link to Tri-C, to Encore 55 Plus, to the programs in this video, so that if later on you do want to look at or sign up for one of the programs, you're going to be more than welcome to do that. One thing I do have for you, Suzanne, is in terms of like your Encore 55 Plus program, what are some of the comments that you get the most of when it comes to that program?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest one is, I love it. I mean, and the other is, I had never heard of you before, which I find amazing because we've been around for 50 years. But one of my passions with it is individuals really loving it. Right? I mean, you love to do what you do. So being able to come, I was actually telling someone here, we had a doctor who called us, and we're like, oh, okay, well, no one probably wants to learn about, you know, the actual doctor side of it. He's like, well, can I talk about my vampires? I'm like, first off, you have vampires. And he goes, no. He goes, I love vampires. I'm like, sure. I mean, and so, yes, seriously, someone came in and was talking about serial killers, and you would think to yourself, oh my goodness, we had a standing room only of 50 people, and something happened with the instructor. They were actually teaching themselves and having conversations. So I think that that's the biggest thing, is being able to not have homework and tests, being able to be with people who have the same passion as you, and then being with instructors who have the passion.
Yeah. I saw when I saw your video, I wasn't going to cry, but I could have, because it was really kind of like people that really thrive, that want to thrive and want to learn, and they're going to your program. So it's great. So thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Wow. I really do appreciate that. And it's just like I said, takes me back to when I was a kid. So last speaker, last presenter, and last but certainly not least, is Kara Canfield. And Kara is the market manager for North Central Ohio for Minuteman Staffing. And go on your computer and just type in minutemanstaffing.com. And what you'll see is, I think, like I said, I think it's 37 offices in the country. So if you're somebody who is looking for a gig, you're looking for a job, check out Minutemen Staffing. Now, let me introduce you to Minutemen Staffing. And before I have Kara come up on the stage, what I want you to know that Minutemen Staffing is one of the largest and most respected industrial staffing firms in the U.S. I said 37, it's actually 32 offices nationwide. And they specialize in industries like light manufacturing, not lights, but light manufacturing, warehouse distribution, and more. With over 50 years in operation, Minutemen has earned recognition from Forbes magazine. I know many of you have heard of Forbes as one of the best temp staffing firms in the country. Today, Kara is going to be sharing insights on a topic that I know many of you are going to be eager to learn about. And I'm looking at it as successful reentry into today's workforce. Of all the topics we talked about today, and we talked about some great ones with some great speakers, great presenters, reentry into the workforce is one of the topics I think that's most applicable to a lot of folks out there watching this video. So I'm excited to hear what Kara Canfield has to say. So before we go on, I'm going to introduce you to Kara Canfield.
At Minutemen Staffing, we are committed to helping individuals discover their next career opportunity. Proudly ranked as the 41st largest staffing firm in the U.S., we have locations in Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana, and Illinois. Our team of experienced job placement specialists work diligently to match candidates with positions that best fit their skills and aspirations. Almost every Minutemen office has a bilingual job placement specialist who assists not only with staffing, but providing on-site translation to ensure all workers fully understand job expectations and safety protocols. Minutemen is growing, and we want to help you grow too. We listen to our candidates and their needs to ensure the job they're placed at meets their unique schedules. So what are you waiting for? Take the next step. Apply today.
Hi, my name is Kara. I'm with Minutemen Staffing. Thank you, Lou, for inviting us to be here today. Part of the Power of 50 Career Summit. I transitioned into a new career in my 40s. It's a little scary trying to get out there. As we all know, there are many factors that contribute to the boomers and the Gen Xers successfully finding job placement. Factors such as age discrimination, job lack of flexibility from ourselves and our workplace, caregiving responsibilities. Our parents are aging. We need to be there for them as well. Health issues and the forever changing technology. Whether you've been laid off, seeking a career change, or have stayed or been a stay-at-home parent and have recently decided to start your career search, where do you start? You ask your friends, you ask your family, is anybody hiring? You update your resume, focus on your soft skills, possibly start volunteering, take a refresher course, get a certificate, work an entry-level position while you're starting that career search. It takes the average of 37 weeks for a person over the age of 50 to secure a position the traditional way. What if you were to walk into one of our Minutemen offices, had a one-on-one interview with any one of the individuals that were on the screen earlier? They had made a custom resume for you within 24 hours, and they had marketed you to hundreds of companies throughout Northeast Ohio. That's what we do at Minutemen. We get to know you, we get to know your skill set, we find out what you've done, where you want to be in life, what your goals are, and we take that information and we match you to one of our several job openings. We schedule your interviews for you, we advocate for you, we help get you placed in a company that you can grow with. Minutemen is a second-generation family-owned company that's been in staffing business since 1968 here in Cleveland. That still takes the old-fashioned approach to the earning the trust of you and our partners. We currently have offices in 5 states: Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky, with 32 offices. We You can go to minutemenstaffing.com, as Lewis said, do a job search and find hundreds of openings right now throughout the 5 states, ranging from entry-level to mid-level skill set in the light industrial, manufacturing, construction, warehouse, planning, coordinating, event centers, food production and food processing. We also have a direct hire division that specializes in the higher skilled positions such as operation managers, HR personnel, and IT professionals. So whether you're just starting your career or searching to make a career change, you stop by any one of our 32 locations and let us help you succeed.
Kara,
Yes.
stay up here. I'm going to ask you, just going to ask you a few questions if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you now, a person looking for a position, looking for a job, and they call you up and they're not sure what they want. What do you ask them? What kind of questions do you ask them?
We do a one-on-one interview with them. We ask them to come in the office. We meet them. What have you done? What have you looking to do? What skill sets? Kind of see where they're headed, where they want to, if it's a temporary position, if it's a temporary to hire position. We just get to know each and every single candidate that comes in our doors.
So somebody walks in your door, do you give them like a written test or anything like that? Or is there some kind of a...
It varies. It varies. It's more of a one-on-one conversation.
Mhm.
And then we go from there.
So what is the qualities that you're looking for?
That's everything. Literally, in our door.
Here's a little bit differently. I've interviewed, I've hired people, interviewed at least 10 times that many. So sometimes when somebody walks in the door, I'm like, you know what? I know immediately they're not going to work out.
I've done that.
You
And I was
have?
wrong. I looked at people and I said, you're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong. So I've stopped using that approach. And I've literally invite each person that's interested in working to come in, introduce themselves to us, let us get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And then see if I personally work with 250 companies throughout Northeast Ohio.
Wow.
So there is somebody looking for that skill set with that quality. And showing up for work is the biggest quality, right? You have to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an issue that we seem to hear. I hear all the time from companies that I work with right now is getting someone to show up every day.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do when you place somebody in a position at one of the 250 companies and someone doesn't show? What's your backup plan?
We always have a backup plan. We have
Sure
people
you
on
do.
call. Yeah, people on call.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's one of the big criticisms I think that I hear, well, not criticisms, but one of the complaints I hear from older workers is nobody wants to hire me. Do you hire older workers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We just placed an older gentleman in a company 2 days ago.
Mhm.
And we told the client, give him a chance.
Yeah.
Interview him, meet with him, talk to him. And he was hired in.
I'll bet you anything he turned out to be the best employee
Probably
they've ever had.
he shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing, he shows up.
Well, Minuteman Staffing has a great reputation in our area. And I'm sure throughout the states you're in, it's the same type of, people think the same thing. You've got a great reputation. So yeah, that's why I wanted you here. I'm so happy you came. And when I asked that question, about would you hire older workers, I knew you did.
Oh, absolutely.
I knew you did. Well, listen, thank you again.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you go, my friends. That is the Power of 50 Career Summit presentations. And I'll stress again about Minuteman Staffing. I think Kara maybe humbly didn't tell you, but it is probably in our area the #1 staffing organization, period. So the reputation's great. So if you're in one of the cities, one of the states that there's a Minuteman Staffing, I don't think you could go wrong by contacting them. If you're somebody who's looking for either a part-time or a full-time gig, no one who is here today, and Minutemen Staffing is a sponsor, but they wouldn't be a sponsor, and I wouldn't have asked them to sponsor if I didn't think they were great. Same thing goes true to Tri-C, which I guess I have a strong affinity for anyway. So yeah. So I want to thank you all for watching. This has been a little bit longer program maybe than we intended. But again, I want to thank you for watching Over 50 TV. Thank you for watching the Power of Career Summit. And I want to thank Scott Ernst, who has been behind the boards the whole time, working away. Thank Garrett for being our Scott's partner in camera crime, I guess, right? Thanks, Adam, for coming. Thank you, which name I forgot, but understand my memory. Thank my wife for being here as well. Thank Melanie for showing up. And I want to thank one of my very special friends, Juan Tony, for being here too. And of course, Joe Nay. Joe, when I grow up, I want to be Joe Nay. That's the truth. So listen, thanks again, everybody. Thank you for watching, and look for us again. Check out Over 50 TV. Almost forgot my name. I was thinking of Side Hustle Rules. Thank you for watching Over 50 TV, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I don't deserve your applause.